Good afternoon. It's 4:30. I'd like to call the Personnel Committee meeting together. Courtesy of the floor. Is there anybody courtesy of the floor? Seeing none, we'll discuss regarding ASME Local 2549 term sheet. Are there any questions?
Questions? Sure.
What was the current bereavement stuff?
So they requested to be have their bereavement handled under the current county policy. There was a separate policy under the old contract. So they requested to be treated the same way career services, and they are being so treated. The terms are 2% in the first year, 4.5% in the second year, 4.5% in the third year, and no change in their health care for the duration of the contract, which is 3 years. No other change in work conditions.
Questions for the...
This is for the corrections officers, by the way, in case anybody was...
We have a copy somewhere of their current pay grid, or what, or if we have the pay scale, which scale is the reference? Because I know there's so many of them.
Sure, they're all attached to the contract. Sure, we'll send it to you. You're welcome.
Other questions for these?
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Okay, next on the agenda is...
Wait, do you need us to motion to move it forward? No? All right. Go ahead.
Next on the agenda is to review the Department of Human Services pay scales revisions and for the non-union and the PSSU union. I think it would be on.
We recently got the state maximums from the Commonwealth. This addresses those state maximums. It affects one person in DHS, but we make sure our pay scales reflect the state maximums at mid-year. It's one thing we got for the budget, and so far still no budget. That's all.
Any questions for Steve? Mr. Barron? Thank you, Steve. A motion to adjourn. Can I have a motion to adjourn? Thank you. Okay.
All right, I'll call the Finance Committee meeting to order. Start with courtesy of the floor. Anybody for courtesy of the floor for the Finance Committee? I have something, sir. Mr. McClure.
At the last council meeting, when the budget amendment was tabled, there was statements that were made from council that the administration had not adequately prepared council to vote on the budget amendment. And that was 2 weeks ago, and for 2 weeks, the parts of the government of the County of Northampton have not been functioning for 2 weeks, parts of it, due to the failure of county council to do its job. Now, the accusation was by council that the administration did not provide council with the information that it needed to act on the budget amendment, and that is fundamentally false, and I'm going to go through it right now. On July 6, 2025, the ordinance for the bond sale was approved by county council. On August 5th, 2025, bond sale documents were finalized. On June 24th, 2025, additional home funds were awarded to Northampton County. Routine reconciliation completed between approved HUD IDIS system and county budget. 7/10/25, difference calculated to be included in next amendment. 9/5/2024, Resolution 89/2024 approved pursuant of LSA grants for Habitat for Humanity. I have the resolutions that county council approved, all of which were contained in the budget amendment. Resolution on October 3rd, 2024, Resolution 102/2024 and 103/2024 approved in pursuit of LSA grants for recovery resolutions. Approved by so what I'm saying approved, they were approved by county council, and these were all included in the budget amendment. You had already taken action on the very things you said you didn't know anything about. On 12/6/2024, Resolution 144/2024 approved pursuit of Main Street Matters grants for Arts Quest. It was approved last December.
Mr. McClure, since it was my motion, can I stop you short? I appreciate what you're saying. I understand you're upset about it. And I was mainly speaking out of concern of myself, not having the information at my hands. I have one line item on this thing that I have information on. Maybe you can help me with it.
Which one?
$382,000.50 of pool professional services under the capital projects of the bond sale.
Okay.
Can you go into detail what
That wasn't that included in the bond documents that were
I'm looking
provided to you?
through it and I can't find anything. And I don't want you to think that we're trying to stop the wheels of government. I don't think we stopped anything in the 2 weeks. Maybe there's something that could have been sped up if we would have approved it, but I just don't like spending $40 million. I appreciate it.
It costs money to close on bonds. Those are the bond closing fees. That was also outlined when we presented the bond information. It was included in all the financing packets that council ultimately approved. It
I
was
guess my
also
question is,
included-
why wouldn't it be just labeled as pool professional services? Such a broad, non-descriptive terminology, and there's, unless I'm missing something, I don't
Because
see
that's the
anything
way
in
our
here.
budget is laid out. We don't necessarily have bond closing fees every year. We only hit the market every 5 years. They are considered pooled professional services. It makes our budget uniform, and it
No, but
is
we
the
also
way.
don't have
Hold on,
parking deck
Mr. Goffredo,
renovations.
it is the way our GFOA awards us the highest financial rewards we get every year
You're
because we
not
have
ta- you're not
unified
answering the
financial
question.
statements. Yeah, I am.
I asked why, listen, I just wanted, you said it's all 100% for closing? That's what it is?
That's all it is, yeah.
Okay, because you can label that as closing, just like you labeled parking deck renovations, which is not a
Our
cost
budget
code.
needs to be uniform, Mr. Goffredo. This fits into a much larger budget document. We will not be labeling it closing costs. It will be labeled pooled professional services.
And that's
so
why,
we can
this is why
we
I
can
give
maintain.
you guys pushback, because you give me pushback.
That's okay,
Every
we can
time I ask
main-
for simple things.
I would like to maintain the highest standards that we have here, and that's why we do it. I am explaining it to you. We provide all the documentation.
Thank you.
Yep.
Did we provide all the documentation for the closing?
We actually did provide all the documentation for the closing of all the bond documents. Ms. Fargo Hefner and the council clerk actually received all those bond documents. She had to actually sign off on some of the closing documents. When I say she, I mean Ms. Fargo Hefner.
So my question is, would these be the fees that would fall under the pooled professional services? Did we provide that information?
We might not have put it in with the budget amendment, but it was within all of the documents. That includes the bond counsel fees. It includes PFM's fees, who have been here to present the information. And it was also on all the financing and closing documents that council voted upon with that ordinance, which is its own separate law. This is just to accept the bond fees into the budget, which were not there because we did not know when we passed the budget that you were going to accept the bond ordinance. So that's the reason we have to amend those funds into our budget.
I don't have anything else.
Anybody else for courtesy of the floor? Please state your name and where you're from.
Yes, hi, I'm John Burke. I'm the president of the Wilson Council, and I see on the agenda tonight you finally have that Dixie TIF plan, which is long, long overdue. And I just wanted to come up front, just remind you that who I am, and just that the borough will be here to go through the entire process. If you have any questions or if you want to find out our position on things, I know there's members from the school board here as well. If they want to come up here and speak, I'm gonna allow them to. I'm not going to speak for them, but I just think, it's important for us, for the borough, to have constant representation as this process goes on. So I'd be happy to answer any questions or create any dialogue that you may have for us. Cool, thank you.
Wait until we get that part of it.
Yeah, we'll wait till we get into that. Anybody else for courtesy of the floor? Please.
Hello, Dr. Harrison Bailey III, Superintendent for the Wilson Area School District. And as just previously stated, I'm here with our business manager and our school board president just to, as stated, be here in support of the TIF and the Dixie Cup project as well. So, thank you.
Anybody else courtesy of floor for? Okay, if not, thank you. Then we'll go ahead and move forward. We'll start with the controllers' reports. Ms. Zirinsky.
Thank you. I have given everybody a copy of my summary for courtesy. The first audit that I'm going to talk about today is the performance audit for the offender supervision fee. The audit scope was for July 1st, 2021 through June 30th, 2022. This audit was conducted as a performance audit in accordance with the generally accepted auditing standards requiring that we plan and perform the audit to obtain sufficient, appropriate evidence to provide a reasonable basis for our findings and conclusions based on our audit objectives. The County Offender Supervision Fund was established under PA Act 35 of 1991, which requires offenders placed under supervision, such as probation, parole, or ARD, to pay a monthly supervision fee of at least $25. Northampton County Court of Common Pleas increased the fee to $30 in 2006, and the program is governed by Title 37, Chapter 68 of the Pennsylvania Code, which outlines how fees are administered, collected, and dispersed. It also mandates an annual audit to ensure compliance with legal and procedural requirements. In Northampton County, the Chief Adult Probation Officer administers the program, overseeing both the adult probation and DUI divisions. These divisions manage supervision responsibilities and related paperwork, including transfers of offenders between counties, which also transfer supervision fees. The Clerk of Court's Criminal Division is responsible for calculating fees, entering them into the Common Pleas Case Management System, or the CPCMS, and processing payments. Funds are distributed monthly, with half going to the county, to the county's probation-related divisions, and half to the state, which returns the state the funds to the county approximately a year later. Revenue is primarily used to cover salaries, benefits, and operating costs in the adult probation and DUI divisions. This program is audited annually. The purpose of this audit is to assess statutes, court orders, and policies and procedures to determine compliance, as well as the adequacy of internal controls and the reasonableness of supervision fee revenue. I did discuss the scope of the audit, but the following components of internal control were considered significant to the audit objectives and were therefore assessed and as appropriate based on risk testing, the first of which is the calculation and posting of supervision fees to the CPCMS from sentencing sheets, the recording and distribution of payments made by defendants, the posting of adjustments to supervision fees in CPCMS based on paperwork originating in adult probation. The first observation was tracking paperwork sent to the criminal division. In 7 of the 25 reviewed cases, supervision fees were not properly recorded in the CPCMS system due to missing paperwork from adult probation. 2 cases involved $1,830 in fees that were never entered for defendants transferred into Northampton County, while 5 cases involved fees that were not removed for defendants who were transferred out. These errors occurred because the criminal division did not receive the necessary notifications from the county's audit probation department and transferring county adult probation department, leading to supervision fees being incorrectly applied and ultimately causing a loss of revenue in the county. Our office recommended that the cases we discovered be properly entered in the CPCMS system Further, adult probation and criminal should develop a better method to ensure that the assessed fees are properly entered, potentially by sending the memos electronically via email with a request of acknowledgement that the letters were received and fees entered. We recommended random monthly testing of supervision cases to help detect and correct discrepancies in a timely manner. The management response by Paul Sigley, Chief Adult Probation Officer. He said, adult probation accepts the report and acknowledges the discrepancies and errors. Per the recommendation, adult probation has already instituted a policy that all memos to criminal division are sent electronically directly through the CPCMS, as well as he will work closely and communicate with the criminal division to assure that accounts are created and updated as needed. The second observation, entering supervision fees into the CPCMS. One of the 25 reviewed cases from the criminal division that were assigned supervision fees did not match the fees in the CPCMS portal, assigning only half of the fees charged to the defendant as a result of a clerical error, which occurred when calculating the supervision fees from the sentencing sheet to the cost sheet and then to the CPCMS. The recommendation was greater care should be taken by the criminal division clerical technician when entering information into the CPCMS, assigning management to review a sample of transactions or proof data entry, as well as counsel clerical staff on the importance of accurate data entry. The management response from Leanne Fisher, the clerk of the courts, said that a new hire was being trained to enter the fees and entered them incorrectly. The error was corrected during our audit, and management will periodically review cases. In conclusion, neither manager considered an exit meeting necessary. The county's offender supervision fee is working as intended and in compliance with statutes, court orders, policies, and procedures. Internal controls are good and working as intended, specifically regarding entering fees into the CPCMS, handling cash receipts and disbursements, and processing paperwork sent by adult probation for parole and accelerated rehabilitation, disposition, or ARD cases. The 7 cases where supervision fees were not properly entered were corrected, and no further action is required at this time. This audit was completed by Florina Tang, Auditor 1. The next audit is an agreed-upon procedure, the jail commissary and inmate telephone. The audit date is January 1st, 2025 to March 31st, 2025. The purpose of the review was conducted as an agreed-upon procedure engagement with Mike Pitaro, the Director of Corrections, in accordance with generally accepted auditing standards. The purpose of this audit is to comply with the audit requirements of Title 37 of the Pennsylvania Code, Sections 95.239.2 and 4. The first procedure was to determine if inmates are being charged the correct amount for items purchased in the commissary. The findings were charges are correct and match the corresponding item prices in Keefe price list. And for all 30 selected items, the item total on individual receipts matches with that of the commissary history report. No items in the sample were found missing. The second procedure, determine if inmates are signing their order slips, acknowledging receipt of what they ordered. Of a sample of 30 receipts, 28 were found and signed by inmates. Keefe's employees were unable to locate the other 2 original receipts, and therefore it could not be determined if the receipts were properly signed by the inmates. Procedure to determine if grievance resolution efforts by Keefe are monitored by jail personnel. Grievance reports, if any, are forwarded to the jail management by Keefe. Most of the grievances are credit issues which are handled between the Keefe employee who is employed in the jail and handles these issues immediately. No errors or concerns were found in our refund testing. The last procedure was to determine if rates charged by Global Tel Link for inmates' telephone calls are in line with FCC guidelines. Our finding was that inmates are being charged phone rates on a 16-cent per minute basis by the jail's phone service provided by Global Tel Link, GTL. This is compliant with FCC guidelines in effect in 2024. The AUP was conducted in accordance with generally accepted government auditing standards, an engagement which does not conduct examination or review to determine an opinion or express any recommendations or conclusions. Had we performed additional procedures, other matters might have come to our attention that would have been reported to you, but we're required to be independent of the responsible party and to meet our ethical responsibilities in relationship to the relevant ethical requirements of an AUP engagement. That audit was completed by Amna Essen, who is a lead auditor.
Questions for the controller for the first two audits so far?
Thank you. Hotel room rental tax, Wilbur Mansion, license 169, for the period January 1st to 2023 to December 31st, 2024. This audit was conducted as an agreed-upon procedure engagement agreed to by the County of Northampton's administration in accordance with generally accepted auditing principles solely to assist with evaluating the hotel room rental tax remittance from the Wilbur Mansion for the period assigned. In our first procedure was to obtain and inspect 2 years of tax remittances from the county's revenue division to determine whether the operator used the latest version of the remittance form and that the form was fully completed in a proper and accurate manner. As necessary, provide hotel management with a copy of the current hotel tax rule and regulations. Our findings were that the hotel room rental tax calculations for the 24-month period were accurate. Remittance reports were received by the 20th of the month for all remittances. The operator paid the higher amount of the tax collected versus the tax due for 12 of the 24 months. In the other 12 months, the actual tax collected was not included on the remittance form. Therefore, the higher of the tax collected versus the tax due could not be calculated. 2, interview hotel management to gain an understanding of the operator's accounting process. We obtained an understanding sufficient to evaluate the accuracy of remittances to the county. Procedure 3, inspect the operator's financial reports to verify the accuracy of remittance reports and compliance with the rules and regulations. The operator overstated taxable revenue compared to their financial document for 3 months in 2023. Additionally, taxable revenue was understated for 2 months in 2023 and for 1 month in 2024. Procedure, investigate the validity of claimed permanent and non-permanent exemptions by testing a sample not to exceed 50. The operator did not claim any exemptions. Finally, we calculated an additional tax owed or refunded by the operator and found by our analysis the hotel overpaid a total tax in the amount of $318.19. We determined the license 169 for the Wilbur Mansion did not owe any hotel room tax. I'm sorry, that was an error there that I wrote 101, but it should be 169, and it should say Wilbur Mansion. But they did not owe any tax because they overpaid $318.19. Okay. And that was the non-audit procedure. That was the hotel tax performed by Jeffrey Talapan, our newest auditor, Auditor 1. And finally, we have our non-audit procedure statement of bonded indebtedness for Northampton County for the period December 31st, 2024 to December 31st, 2025. In conjunction with Section 402(3) of the County of Northampton Home Rule Charter, our office has prepared and hereby certifies the statement of bonded indebtedness for the period recorded. To this end, a summary of bonded and note debt transactions and installment purchases from the calendar year 2024 and a projection of transactions for 2025, anticipating a total liability for 2025 of $63,000,000 $906,448, which is a difference of $412,019 in debt service from 24 to 25.
Ms. Zirinsky,
Yes.
does that have the bond for the parking garage calculated into the 2025 anticipated, or would that be strictly for 2026?
I will check in the notes. I don't believe that is so. It's not listed here in the notes. I don't believe it is because I believe that that is too new for our calculations. We finished this audit at the end of August.
So when we close on that bond, when will that become part of our,
Statement of indebtedness?
It will become, you will see it at this time next year in 2026. We've
Yeah.
already closed on the bond. Our first payment is 2026.
perfect, thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you.
All right, next we have review of the 2025 budget amendment.
Mr. Gofredo, your question from earlier about this budget amendment, since I rise for this, was given to County Council for the professional services on August 12th. It's on page 28 of the 46-page document we sent to Council. Good evening, County Council. Steve Barron, Director of Finance. Everybody you could think about questioning, asking a question, hearing from, even though you have heard from them before, is here tonight to answer any question you have about this budget amendment. On Tuesday, August 12th, as deadlines go with County Council, the Finance Department adheres to them as strictly as possible, and we sent 46 pages of backup documentation to Council, which we know was forwarded by Ms. Shafnisky to members of County Council related to the budget amendment. It's all right here. You have copies of it today, including resolutions that Council passed. Our process is very simple. We collect all the actions Council takes after the budget is passed, and we gather them together because there may be adjustments we need when we reconcile, when we sign these contracts, because most of the contracts we have are the anticipated money that is going to come in on the revenue side, which is strictly the purview of the county executive. We make sure that we present that to you very, very accurately, because then we're going to take that revenue and we're going to spend it and distribute it throughout the rest of the budget. We have that as a very open and transparent process. We share all of our backup documentation for that. So Council had that well in advance of the budget amendment, and they also had all the documents we presented at the time that Council voted for the $29 million bond ordinance. Currently, we have $29 million sitting in a Truist account right now, and we are ready to go with the projects and to start paying people under that bond, that bonded indebtedness. We cannot do that, though, until Council formally accepts the bonded indebtedness. All of these other ministerial things that happen on a regular basis, which have as much documentation in here as we get from the departments, we pass on to County Council in a very open and transparent process. Most of that is ministerial, and it's based on actions Council has taken. So I'm going to have Tina come up here, explain some of the things related to the DCED. And if you have any questions for the people who are receiving this money, by all means, each and every one of them are here today, again, to explain to you.
I'll just say, let's not operate like this isn't, going on after we had $9 million move without our knowledge. So we were, let me finish what I'm saying.
Okay.
As I look through almost $40 million of an amendment, And last week or 2 weeks ago when we were looking at it, we didn't have the documentation attached to it. So I'm
That's
looking-
not fiscal's fault.
Listen,
Just letting you
I'm not saying
know.
it's your fault. I'm just saying I wanted to take the time to make sure I knew what was in here before I voted on it. And I wanted to say, hey, can we break this up into each section so we can look at it individually? That's it. The fact that you're being so defensive about it, that's on you.
I just don't like being accused of not giving council due and timely notice of everything we bring before them, which is clearly the implication of this body.
No,
And we
I'm
have
glad
we have a
you-
very different argument about the $9 million. So if you want to have that discussion as to whether I should have or
point
should
of
not
order.
have brought a budget amendment, that is a very different conversation to what
Mr.
this
Brown.
is, because I am bringing a budget amendment to you with all the documentation that you could have read a month ago.
I did what I wanted to do 2 weeks ago. I wanted to slow down because I was too many things were happening too quickly right after we had $9 million moved without our knowledge.
And
That's why
that
we did
grinds
it.
government, good government, to a halt. Good government to
Point
a
of
halt.
order, Mr. Brown.
Go ahead, Lori, hold on.
Mr. Gavredo, with all due respect, and I appreciate your right to discuss this, I really don't want to hear what we did wrong, what they did wrong. I stand by what you did, and I voted yes with you. My other point of order is, do we want to look and ask the questions that we want, rather than waiting for them
Yeah,
to
I
come
would,
up and give us?
yeah,
I would rather have council pick and choose the pieces that they, because not everything was in question, so I don't think people need to go through every point. But that's just my,
Why don't, I agree with that, and, all due respect.
Sure,
to
and
those here in
just so you know,
support.
for DCD pass-through grants, the entities, we have Cassie from Arts Quest, Jessica from Habitat, and Mary's here from Lafayette College, in case you don't remember any of those specific projects.
Off then.
well, then I did have a question about the Lafayette project, and then when I got the supportive documentation that was sent last Friday, it didn't match what this is, but today Mr. Dunstein came and brought me the corrected information, so I don't believe that I have any more questions. But just to clarify that it was nothing that you did, and I didn't get the correct information until today, so thank you.
Is that all you have?
I think so. I mean, I do have a question about process rather than content, is that, you know, we're hearing that this was done back in '24 and back in 20 whatever, so why is it being amended now, and why wasn't it put into the budget last year? Just as a refresher from my procedure.
It's a finalizing, so all of these funds that come through sometimes are on a 2-3 year process or longer programs. Council will pass the resolution, so we start diligently working towards that. Once we know what the final award is going to be, and we know all the particulars as to what the administrative fees are going to be and all the other stuff that goes along with that bond, and we actually ink the contract, that is when we bring it forward to put it in the budget. We don't count on that revenue, even though we might have a project in the works, because we do not want to have that money laying around, okay? So for reporting purposes, we make sure once it's inked, that's when the clock starts ticking for reporting and all of that other stuff. So to answer your question about the timing, this is fairly common in DCED when resolutions are passed 1 or 2 years prior, and then that money comes in later on once the money is inked. We're also dealing with a calendar year budget when we have the federal government, which ends at the end of this month, and the state who has yet to pass a budget. So
Thank you. So Tina, can I ask a question about the LSA then? Because I guess that's what this comes under, or the other, because there's another one for Lafayette that I did get that was $35,000. So is that also an LSA grant? from a
So I
different
think
fund?
that there were two, I talked to Brandon about this earlier. I think one is through the Greenways, through Parks and Rec, because of the project. Our LSA runs through the state, and just to kind of summarize it, when we come to you with these presentations and get the resolution, we need that to apply for the grants. Doesn't mean we have the money.
So that's, thank you, that's a
yes.
clarification. So then if you're
Yes.
asking us for that, then that doesn't mean that when it's presented here to us that
Correct.
we
It doesn't mean we
necessarily knew
have
that
the
we-
money, correct. Hence the delay and the reason that we have to do the budget amendments. This is just permission. We support the project to apply for the grant. It doesn't mean we have the money.
So, these LSA grants, are they on, what time of timeline is that? Are they ongoing?
They are
pop up
ongoing,
all
they are
the time?
annual, yes.
Answer, she's doing fine, she's doing fine. Excuse me, I
hold on.
want to hear from Tina.
there is I want to clarify so you have the correct information. Ms.
But I
Bartlett.
think she can answer her
Some of
question,
those-
Mr. Barron. I'll call on you when I need you, please.
Some of those go
Mr.
on
Brown.
2-year cycles. Some of them go on 2-year cycles, so it's not always annual, just to be clear.
The grant applications are annual.
Thank you. So there's different things that come up at different times that we could apply for, so it's not necessarily A to B.
Correct,
Thank you.
correct. And again, we are just the pass-through for our partner nonprofits.
And that, I understand. And the same thing with Arts Quest. I think last time we just wanted a clarification that it was, because it wasn't stated here. It wasn't part of the original packet that I got. But that's for the turn and grind? Or that's for the original money that we encumbered years ago
This-
that is ongoing?
Yep, this is the steel turn and grind shop. I actually have a copy of Cassie's presentation, if anybody wants it.
Just wanted clarification. Don't
Okay.
need to review. Thank you very much, Mr.
welcome.
Brown.
Anybody else have questions? Jeff? No. Tom? No. Do you have anything? John, do you have anything else?
He answered with the pool services, thank you.
Okay. Just as part of the process, since we've talked about process, you also have to understand this body is a part-time body, and we act on items from a year ago. So when we ask for clarification, it's understanding that, no, I get that you live it. I'm not asking a question, Steve.
Okay, that's fine.
You live it daily. We don't. So we pass things. It doesn't mean I have a memory of what we did a year and a half ago. Well, you have to do a budget amendment. There's nothing that says we don't ask for clarification from time to time, all things being what they are. Is there any other questions on the budget amendment at this point? No? If not, then we'll conclude that and move on.
Thank you, Mr. Brown.
Next item we have is a review of the Wilson Tiff Dixie Cup project. And who's here to discuss that?
Good evening, Jonathan Cox from Eckert Siemens. It's a pleasure to be here with you this evening. We serve as counsel to the developer, Skyline Investment Group. We've been working with the Northampton County Industrial Development Authority for the last year to finalize the TIF plan that's being presented tonight for your preliminary consideration before it moves through the process required under the TIF Act, which is that once the plan is approved by the authority, then a hearing can be held or must be held by the county upon 30 days' notice. So that advertisement for the public hearing went out this week, or appeared this week, for a hearing to occur on October 16th, if I'm not mistaken.
30 days.
And so this is part of the county's internal process. Happy to be here to answer any questions you have, not required by the law. The law requires that, again, that a public hearing be held, advertised 30 days in advance, and that county council wait at least 3 weeks prior to considering enactment of the ordinance, finally approving the plan, and creating or establishing the TIF district. So again, I understand that this is just an opportunity for the Finance Committee to review the plan, ask questions before it goes to county council. Again, I understand county procedure is that you like to have, the county process is to have ordinances introduced in advance of consideration for enactment. And so first reading of the ordinance, my words, not yours, will occur tomorrow evening on the county council agenda. But that ordinance, just to be clear, won't be able to be considered for enactment by county council until November 6th, which I think is exactly 3 weeks after the hearing. So I'm happy. I know I saw many of you a year or so ago with a draft of the TIF plan. I'm happy to provide a quick executive summary update of the changes that were made at your discretion, if you'd like me to do so.
Mr. Warren, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. I was going to ask if you could possibly give us those changes,
Sure.
kind of go through them. I'm not sure if there's too many differences.
Yeah,
than
I'd be
what we
happy
saw
just to
from a
provide
year
an
ago.
overview, Councilman Warren. So So a year or so ago, we had a draft of the plan that was prepared and actually approved, or the school district and the borough had adopted resolutions to participate in. We've been working with the Northampton County IDA for the last year to finalize the plan. They wanted to be more deliberative about the process and have an opportunity to do more of their own due diligence, which was fair. They hired their own. The plan was initially prepared by the developers' consultants. The IDA asked that they have an opportunity to consult with their own consultant and to do more due diligence on the project and to supplement the plan that we had previously prepared with more comprehensive information. Again, fair. But the big change, it's still the same project. Redeveloping the old Dixie Cup manufacturing facility in Wilson it's converted into 405 residential apartments. So the project hasn't changed, and the request of the taxing bodies hasn't changed. The request is the taxing bodies participate in the TIF. 100% of the increment that's created, the tax increment that's created by the project for 20 years. That had, based on cash flows that we had put together last year, that generated, and assumed, lots of assumptions go into the estimates of the bond sizing that those cash flows could support. So last year, I think we were around $28 million of total bond proceeds to be paid back over the 20-year period of the TIF district. This year, we're with the updates, we're around $26 million, so it's gone down about $2 million. And that's primarily related to a change in the assumed interest rates. We had assumed 6% previously. The underwriter wanted to increase that to 6.25%. So it doesn't sound like much, but over 20 years, 0.25% adds up. The other change that had to be factored in, as you know, the State Tax Equalization Board, STEB, updates the common level ratio for every county annually. And so that STEB, the common level ratio, was updated by STEB over the last 12 months. And so the assessed value upon completion actually went down as a result of that calculation. So the incremental tax is based on the assessed value of the property times the millage rates of the three taxing bodies. So those two changes decreased the cash flow and ultimately the estimated sizing for the bond issue. Not materially, but that's the explanation for the difference. Again, the project is the same. The IDA asked us to provide more information around the sources and uses of the project, just in round numbers. So last year, we anticipated doing a single series of bonds. After reviewing this with bond counsel to the IDA and discussing with the underwriter further over the last year, we decided that a structure that had two series of bonds would be more effective. The expectation is that 100% of the bonds will be supported by tax increment revenues. The change is the tax laws are very complicated as it relates to what the bond proceeds can be used for if the issue is done on a tax-exempt basis. When you put a neighborhood improvement district on as credit enhancement, which is our expectation, the borough will adopt a district which will be a special assessment district, that in the event that the tax increment revenues are insufficient to pay debt service, that a special assessment will be imposed on the property owner, in this case my client, the developer, to pay any shortfall that may arise. The implications of that under the federal tax code are that any bonds secured by a neighborhood improvement district or a special tax district, those bond proceeds can only be used for what the code defines as public infrastructure improvements. Although many of us think of public benefit, the significant public benefit of this project being the remediation of a property that's been dormant and vacant and deteriorating for over 40 years, that had significant soil contamination and other hazardous materials in the building. Unfortunately, the Internal Revenue Code does not consider that public infrastructure, even though that remediation constitutes a public benefit in most of our minds. So we had to be very deliberate about how to really do a deep dive into what aspects of the project would constitute public improvements under the code. So basically, we split that out in just round numbers. If you assume the net proceeds after all the costs of issuance are paid and a debt service reserve fund is funded, underwriter's going to require 10% debt service reserve funds. That'll be funded from bond proceeds straight off the top. So the net bond proceeds, just in round numbers, say 20 million. It's actually a little over 19 million. Let's just say 20 million. 15 million will be for public infrastructure improvements that will be secured by the Neighborhood Improvement District. 5 million will be for improvements that are not considered public infrastructure improvements under the tax code. So those are improvements that will be owned by the developer and don't constitute public infrastructure. So those are actually the Series A bonds. Series A bonds will be secured by a lien on the tax increment revenues, a first lien on the tax increment revenues. The Series B bonds will be secured by a junior lien on the tax increment revenues and a senior and exclusive lien on the special assessments. So, based on the projected cash flows, again, we're assuming the projections based on the anticipated final assessed value from the Dietrich report of 147 million market value are going to produce incremental tax revenue sufficient to pay all the debt service on both series of bonds. The Series A bonds will essentially be sold unsecured. They're only secured by a pledge on the revenues, no other credit enhancement. But because of all the cash flows, the debt service coverage on those bonds is significant. The underwriter is confident they'll be able to sell those bonds without any additional credit enhancement. The Series B bonds, again, will be secured by the Special Assessment District. And we assume, based on the cash flows, that they will be fully serviced from the additional incremental tax revenues, but to the extent that they are not able to be paid from tax increment revenues, they will be covered by the special assessments. So those were I know it's taken a long time to come back to you and finalize the plan, but required a lot of back and forth between the Skyline team, their new bond counsel that they retained, their new consultant, and really doing a deep dive into all of that analysis. So we've provided the new plan provides a more detailed sources and uses for the proceeds that really breaks down and goes into the assumptions and expectations as to those differences, what the A bond proceeds will be used for and what the B bond proceeds will be used for. But just to summarize, the overall project and the ask of the taxing bodies has not changed since we discussed this with you over approximately a year ago. So let me stop there. I'm happy to answer any questions that anyone has. I know as Council President, Borough Council President Burke is here, along with other members of the borough, and the school district is here. They have ratified their prior approval of the TIF plan and their participation in the district at bond council's request. And so they are fully supportive and on board with this project, but I don't want to speak for them. Again, if you have questions for them, please. Also, Brian Barty is here. He's the Principal Managing Director for Skyline Investment Group. Brian, if you can just wave your hand. So Brian I'm sure he's happy to answer your questions. He's very passionate about this project. He's invested a lot of his own personal equity into this project, both in terms of dollars and sweat equity. He moved to this community so that he could be more involved with the project on a day-to-day basis. He's already started some of the work, environmental remediation work, and both on the site at large as well as internally to the building. We've been working with Solicitor Vargo on the ordinance that's also in the packet. There will be a first reading tomorrow for County Council. Again, let me stop there, and you can ask me any questions, or Brian, or any members of the borough or school district and other members of the county team that are here this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. Borough Council President Burke, if you don't mind, if you can just provide an overview as to why the borough supports this. I mean, we've met before, and I'm somebody who is very supportive of this project and of this TIF, but just for the record, I think it's important that the borough, and as well as the school district, also is on the record during this finance committee to talk about why this project is important.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, for myself personally, you know, I came in front of county council a few years ago when we were talking about that LERTA. And, you know, I said, you know, the plant closed in June 1983, and I was born in June 1983. So I've never seen that other than pretty much not being in use. And to see it now going on 42 years and to see the way it is, I know people who are lifers, they just want to see something happen to that building. And I mean, myself personally, I feel like this is the first true opportunity. I mean, we could come together and just, you know, breathe. That's probably the best word I could use, because, you know, there's actually a direction, there's a vision, you know, and it's not going to be an abandoned building anymore. And I don't know if anybody's been by there, but, you know, there's no cracked windows anymore. In fact, there's no windows at all, you know, and that's more that can be said that's been done to that building in the last 20 plus years, you know. And
I genuinely got excited when I was driving my daughter to her gymnastics training recently, and I saw that there were I genuinely got really excited about it, and I've never been so excited to look at a building that was windowless.
I know.
In my entire life.
I know. Well, and then like the first home football game, you know, the band's playing the pregame and the sound is you know, going through the building. It was the coolest thing ever. And I just think that, you know, especially, I know there's some other projects going on in the borough, but right now, I mean, it's like, this is the home run. I mean, this is the thing that, you know, we're excited for. Every resident, every business owner I've talked about is excited that something's finally going in there. It's not just an eyesore anymore.
Very much. No, I'm done.
What would you say to a developer that said, hey, I would do it with no tax incentive? So I guess that's kind of I think it's a home run. Well, I guess I would say it's a triple. A home run would be we have somebody do it and we don't have to give them any tax dollars or give them any tax incentives. Because, you know, in my eyes, that's almost like corporate welfare. Like we're giving a tax break to some of the most wealthy and privileged people there are out there, developers. And as somebody that does that myself, you know, philosophically, I don't go for tax dollars because I don't agree with it.
Right.
So if somebody who is a real person is saying, hey, I would do it without any tax dollars, then yeah, maybe he won't offer the same amount sale price. But at the end of the day, the landowner is getting a little bit more because there's a $29 million tax incentive. How do you kind of come to peace with the fact that, you know, we as the county, you know, maybe people in Bethlehem don't want this because maybe it only just means more traffic for them. Wilson, I can understand you guys seeing much more of the benefit. You live right next to it. People see that. I can understand Wilson definitely having more of an incentive to wanting to do it. But if you had to talk to somebody from Saucon or Bethlehem who maybe doesn't want to see that, what would you say to them?
I mean, you know, one thing about me is that I love history, you know, and I love, you know, what has happened. And, you know, I've always been taught that, you know, you learn history, learn from your mistakes. And, you know, the building, I think before this, the last official use, I think, was back in like 2008, 2009. So you're talking about over a 15, 16-year period. Where were those people? You know, nobody came forward to develop this building or have a plan, you know, to this magnitude. So, I mean, yes, is there maybe somebody out there who would? Probably. Would it be to this grand scale? Probably not. And have they take the initiative? Absolutely not. So the fact that Skyline has come in and done what they've done and said what they've done, you know, said what they're going to do and how much they're trying to build up the borough as a whole, not just necessarily just that little piece there that's been abandoned. And I think that's the most important thing to just keep in mind if anybody would ask me, because, yeah, I mean, we're not, you know, and I hate to throw this out there, we're not the city of Easton, we're not the city of Bethlehem, you know, we're one of the little guys. And I've said before is that we've never dealt with a project this big, so I don't know what to expect. I don't know what to anticipate, and you know, sometimes you just have to put the faith in people. And when it comes to what do I expect, I think that if you want what possibly could be the best for the borough, you have to entertain it. And I mean, between the council and from what I've heard from the school district, is that it's unanimous that this is something we want to see.
Do you have any concerns about driving out people that have lived in Wilson with rising housing costs? I think what Mr. Barty plans will be developing 405 units, higher scale, nice apartments. It might drive more interest for more of that in the Wilson area. Not to mention just the development of that project alone could increase the value of the properties in the area. Do you have any concerns about that for the borough residents?
That's a very good question. And I mean, what I can answer is that we're kind of already seeing that. I mean, over the last 15 years, we've seen a huge uptick in rentals. You know, I mean, me personally, I am a renter. You know, and I've lived at my house for almost 13 years, and it's been the same house, no major renovations, and my rent has gone up almost double. You know, in just that short amount of time. You know, and it's, you know, I live paycheck to paycheck. You know, I completely understand how it is, and you know, as you know, representing the borough, I'm looking at it that this could be something that, you know, maybe down the line we can actually talk about lowering taxes for our residents, you know, and that's something you don't often hear, you know, and just because, you know, with a development like this, draws other development and other ideas, and I'd love to see that happen. So that's why I don't have that fear about drawing. If people are going to leave, they're going to leave, but I don't think it's because of something like a project like this is coming in. I honestly don't.
Well, I appreciate everything you're saying. My only concern is that people will have to leave because they can't afford it anymore. And listen, we're talking about improving Wilson, and I think that's an overall net positive. But unfortunately, for the lowest of income people in Wilson, they might not be able to afford to live there anymore. And that's, I think, a realistic reality that might have to just come to fruition. If we make this a huge project, it'll have huge implications. I think most of them are going to be great, but there will be some negatives too. And I just think that's something that everybody just needs to kind of think about and talk about and hear and just be out in the open about. I'm much more concerned about the $30 million tax break. That's something that I have a hard time, you know, and that's not all Northampton County. We're the smallest shareholder in that. The fact that you and the school board are on board makes it a little bit more appetizing for me, but still something I'm kind of mulling over in my head. But I appreciate your time.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Mr. Goffredo, would you mind if I just added a couple of comments to that or responded to your...
If anybody else has any questions for the president? No?
Thank you.
Yeah, just 2 points. So, LRTAs and TIFs are a little bit different. LRTAs are, as you know, a abatement and over a large district.
I understand. You're paying the same tax.
But
You're
TIF
just
is
delaying what you would pay us.
a TIF. On TIF,
Remember.
Pennsylvania is not the only state that has a taxing and financing law, but Pennsylvania does, in the TIF Act in Pennsylvania, it has a quote-unquote but-for requirement, that the project would not move forward but for this tax assistance. And I think Brian would tell you absolutely this project will not move forward without the tax assistance because of the extraordinary costs associated with redeveloping this project, which is what the TIF Act is meant to do. It's meant to provide funds to be used on an extraordinary basis for sites that have been blighted and underutilized for a long period of time and are just going to continue to deteriorate. So this is a tool to be used sparingly. But for extraordinary projects such as this, I think it's very appropriate, and the project won't move forward without this assistance. Brian, I'm sure you can confirm, but before you do, just on your second point on housing, you know, we believe, and Brian can speak to this, that, I mean, housing costs are supply and demand, that this project has the potential to decrease housing costs in Wilson as much, if not more, than increase housing costs. Because, you know, rents are going up because there are not enough housing units. So I just wanted to, you know, there's also that.
What's your last name again? I'm sorry.
Jonathan Cox.
Mr. Cox, simply put, we live in a very sought-after area. We're a short drive away from New York, Philadelphia. We build these places, just like we did in Easton. Anybody that knows how Easton developed over the last 30 years, now all of a sudden, Easton is one of the highest rent areas. You know, you just go across the bridge from Phillipsburg to Pennsylvania, your taxes are lower, cost of living is lower, so we bring people here. I understand that supply and demand, but we're not in a vacuum. People can come into Northampton County and drive out people that have been here for a long time. And that's what will happen if, just like with Easton, built a lot of luxury apartments in nice places. People move here to work in New York City that weren't originally from here. That's why our population keeps growing while other areas are decreasing. That's why our average income is on the rise, because we bring in people from other areas. So I understand the demographics behind it, I understand the economics behind it, and I also disagree the fact that without this TIF, this project's impossible. I think give it time, when you start running out of places to do things, places become more and more sought after. And there has been a developer that came here and spoke at this dais and said, I will buy this without tax subsidies and do it, just like he's done multiple other places in the valley. And he's a local businessman who we know. And Mr. Barty, I've spoken to you and he's given me the opportunity to get to know him better. I think he is the real deal. However, I don't know him personally, so I would have to put my faith in him that he is going to follow through with the project that he promises. So these are reservations that I have personally. I can't speak for anybody else, but they are grounded in realities. Yes, we will make Wilson a more sought after and desirable place to live. People that have bigger incomes that live in New Jersey and New York can move here and drive out people that don't pay as much for rent. Rents can go up because landlords say, hey, you can afford it, I'll raise my rent. Just like the council president said, his rent doubled. That could keep happening. And all of a sudden, the people that have lived in Wilson for 30 years might not be able to live there anymore. Those are my concerns.
Understood. I just wanted to provide that, those additional observations. And I'm sure, Brian, you're happy to address any questions the board has. I certainly want to give the school district the opportunity to present, so thank you for allowing me to butt in.
Mr. Brown, if you don't mind, Mr. Brown, real quick. Just
Hang on. Anybody else have a question? I'll get back to you, Jeff. Lori, go ahead.
I have a question about the fee in lieu for affordable housing, or the choice to not include affordable housing. So I don't know who wants to address that.
Sick. I got a cold. So yes, we're contributing the $1.1 million to the low-income housing fund to offset the 41 units of affordable housing, and it's more so of a debt service issue. If we put the additional 41 units of affordable housing, it would break the model. The project is a $185 million project, so if we put those extra 40 units in at that rate, it'll break. Then there's no need for a TIF or anything.
Lori,
Please do.
what is the market rate you're expecting to lease these?
That's a great question, and I want to go back to John's point after that. So right now, the Marquee in Easton, they're at $2.48 a square foot. The Boyd is at $3.42 a square foot, and the Commodore, which I originally rented at because I wanted to see what good things they did and maybe what mistakes they did, they're at $2.78 a square foot, right? So we're going to be at $2.51 a square foot, and our project is going to come online 24 months, let's just say, from today. So if you factor in 3% escalations per year, which is industry standard, we're going to be way under market by the time our building is done, because we already have 3 products that are online today that are ahead of us. So as far as what we're renting the units for, we're under the market today. And in that building, people are going to get way more square feet than any other building in Lehigh Valley. When you get to the 3rd and 4th floor, you're talking about you're going to literally have 20-foot high ceilings, 14-foot wide by 8 feet long windows. There's no building like it, right? So people are going to be under where market is, and they're going to be getting more space for their buck too, if that kind of gives you some insight on what we're doing there.
Well, you used a term that I'd want you to clarify. You said it would break the model. So what does that mean?
Meaning it wouldn't close. So forget about the TIF, forget about everything. If I put the low-income housing units in there at that rent, the model won't debt service. So there is no loan, there is no closing, there's no need for a TIF. We pick our ball up and go home. We have a nice building with no windows. The courtyards are now open too.
And I'm curious about that statement, that you would choose to take on this project, because, you know, you've been here with us for a year
been up here-
trying to
I've been up
dance,
here
right?
for
We're not
3
getting
years now.
past 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
But why would you take on a project like this if, you know, I get my tax break or I don't, and I'm leaving?
And I'm glad, so we keep, now everybody, and I respect, there's some very smart people here. I've been in real estate finance for 23 years. It's all I do. So I'm a professional there. So tax break versus, the TIF is a capital markets lever, so it's a difference. So when you say tax break, you're gonna get less than what the base tax is, right? Which means you're gonna sacrifice, which isn't the case. So it's semantics, but we just wanna be accurate, right? With that being said, to close this, there's a $60 million equity gap that needs to be provided for, right? The construction costs are so high and the construction costs keep escalating year over year. So this is just literally a way to offset that, because even if I had $1 bazillion, and most developers, they're not gonna go in their pocket with $60 million, right? Even this pre-development, we're already in $13 million of a lot of my own capital, right? So it's too expensive, even if I wanted to. There's just no way to do it because construction costs are too high. If you want to take construction costs back 6, 7, 8 years, yeah, I wouldn't be before you. I can definitely do it without any capital market lever. It's just not the case today. So that's why we're using TIF, and we're using historic tax credits as well to complete the equity constraint along. By the time we get to the closing, I'll probably be $15 million in. That will give us enough to close. But we need all these levers to be able to meet that component.
I'll come back later.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. The first question, Mr. Gafredo, that you asked Mr. Cox, I've been asking myself that for over 40 years, since my grandfather stopped working there in 1983 when it shut down. I've been asking how and why hasn't this particular building been able to get redeveloped by somebody? And it finally took these individuals with a vision and a plan and was serious about it. They got serious, because I think we kind of know the history of this site. There have been interested parties here and there. Deals have fallen through in the past, and for whatever reason, but we're talking about a $15 million investment already at this point in time. This is very serious, and I do not want to disrespect anybody who wants to invest in our communities. There are people who say a lot of things at times, but I believe that Skyline here has shown that they are absolutely 100% serious about this project, when nobody really has been for well over 40 years, which is one of the reasons why I'm extremely supportive of this project. So the question you initially asked, Mr. Gafredo, I've been asking myself that for over, not over 40 years. I wasn't asking myself that as a 7-year-old. But I've been asking myself that for a long time, as an Easton area resident for so long and a Northampton County resident so long, driving on 22, looking at that building for so many years. Why hasn't anybody done it? We finally have somebody in front of us that's going to really make a difference in the community. So that's why I'm supporting it.
And I appreciate that. And kind of to get back to John, I have a question, and then I can give you some insight on that too. And not being disrespectful to anybody that stood here before you before, but no one spent a dime. And part of the reason is the remediation was a complete wild guess. Like you could not quantify what was in there. You know, the original assessment on the remediation was like $350,000, which was a joke. Fast forward to today, it's done. It was $4 million. So no one was willing to take that risk. I was, because on the finance side, I know I'm looking at a $50 million superstructure, right? So I'm not a typical developer. I closed these complex transactions for my previous clients for most of my career. So I knew what I was looking at. That's why I was comfortable if it cost me $5 million, $6 million to remediate the building. I know in the end, eventually, if I can get it closed, it would pay off and we can complete the project, right? But that's why no one really did it, because you couldn't see what's under that. And then past the past the remediation, once you get past that, now that we're into our $7.2 million scope, which is the demo, which everybody can see, the windows coming out, you know, there was over 730 windows in that building, right? And you have to remove them in a way that keeps the integrity of the historic nature of the building. So you can't just rip them out and go. So there's all these things that go into it, which is fascinating to me because I've learned so much as the owner during this process too. So I got the finance side, now I'm on the development side. But yeah, it's a heavy lift. And then my question, John, and everything you're saying is valid, by the way, except for the tax break thing. But we're past that. I think
We already got this last time we met.
I think that my question would be: is everyone here happy what's going on with Easton? As far because I live there, so it's a beautiful place, the development and things of that nature. And I'm from New Rochelle, New York, so I seen that small place, which had 3 projects, right? And I grew up in one. Now they have $7 billion of downtown redevelopment, and they were giving out tax breaks. They were giving a 20-year tax break to RXR, which is the master developer. Then everybody came in. That money, that city's making money hand over fist, right? And that would put the city in position to lower the taxes, real estate taxes on the residents, while at the same time having those property values increase. Will there be some people that can't afford to live where we are? Yeah, of course. But that's where every time I'm not the typical developer. Every time I'm before you putting up a building, I'm going to be investing in the low-income housing fund. That $1.1 million, if you all sat down with me, I know for a fact I can tell everyone how to structure about a $14 million building, just with that $1.1 million. I'm not the typical developer, but that can put a lot of low-income housing or affordable housing units on the market. So it doesn't have to be where I'm just doing this and running people out. We can still build new structures that I'm doing where it's that workforce housing market rate, but also build new structures for people that can afford it too. And I think with my project, we can do both, especially if you all leverage my expertise on the capital market side as well. So, yeah.
You have a question in there?
Well, do you like what's going on in Easton? That was my question, because they did all the new development.
I don't live in Easton, but I love it as somebody that gets to go to Easton. You know what I mean? Because Easton is, I think South Panther did a great job. But there are people that lived in Easton and the neighborhood changed. And,
Right, of course.
Some people don't like change.
Right.
I don't live in Wilson. I said to the mayor of Wilson, and I'll say to the borough president right now, I'm going to lean on what you guys have to say at the same time. But I also know Wilson's in a desperate spot. They need something to spark up Wilson, and this might be it. I guess I have a little bit of bias for local developers.
Right.
Nothing against New York or, the fact that you moved here, that goes a long way.
I'm staying here.
You're staying here?
Staying here.
Well, that's a good thing to hear because it's nice to know that you got skin in the game and that you're around here.
Listen, my whole entire future is into Wilson and Lehigh Valley. Everything I have. To take it a step forward, so you say you like what's happening in Easton, the same thing's going to happen in Wilson, but we're going to have parking for everything.
Well, I guess that's where I'll say you use comps in Bethlehem and Easton. Bethlehem and Easton are not Wilson. They're not
No.
the Slate Belt. They're not, East Allentown. These are Bethlehem and Easton are the crown jewels of Northampton County, and they're, look in any USA Today, like they're some of the nicest towns across the country. So, yeah, Easton can demand those rents because they have the things that Easton has. And I know Wilson's a short drive away. Bethlehem has the things Bethlehem has. Wilson doesn't have those things. So are you going to be able to get those rents at the rates that you're promising? And are the construction costs that you use in your pro forma realistic, or are they inflated? Because those construction costs for a building that's already standing with a structure that's already sound are high in my opinion. And it's I think this project is doable if you go through a TIF. Now you got union labor rates. You got $30 million on top to now we could pay the owner a little bit more for the piece of property. All these soft costs can get inflated. I think it's a way of inflating a project cost.
John, I can tell you 1,000% I do not play that game. Because
Do you know what your square foot construction costs are on that pro forma?
So to get to your point, Clover is one of my main subcontractors. I took this to market to bid. We have 3 bids. Now, obviously, we have to wait a little bit farther till we get probably about 4 months out till we go for our GMP, but I'm not closing with the stipulated sum contract. I'm getting a GMP. I'm looking for ways to cut. So I don't need to pack cost to pay myself in the construction loan. It's kind of stupid when developers do that because they're paying interest on the money they're paying themselves. It's dumb. I can just refinance when my property's stabilized and not pay the interest on it. So it's just, I'm not playing that game. It's just that high. Adaptive reuses, but if you, by the way, you're in the industry. If you got a group or you got subcontractors that can get me a better price, that's gonna save me a lot of money, I will look at it.
I'm in a
Okay.
different capacity in this.
Oh,
realm.
okay.
I'm sitting
I'm
here
just saying.
as somebody that's got information from the industry, looking at it, and I gave it to a developer and somebody that does hedge funding investments in New York. I said, does this make sense? Would you invest in this? And he said, looking at the performance, he's like, without the TIF, no. So I was like, all right, well,
Don't
there's a
work.
feather in the cap of Brian Barty. But then I gave it to somebody in the construction side, and he's like, these square foot costs are really high. So, listen, I'm taking everything you're saying. I don't think you're full of, you know,
Yeah.
not full of it. I think you have an ambitious, like you said, you didn't know what you were getting into until you started digging into it. I think there's a lot of unknowns, and I think you have to protect yourself with those unknowns. But when I'm hearing people that I've known a long time saying, I would do this without the tax money, or those construction costs are high, I listen to those too. So I'm weighing it all in. I was undecided a year ago, I'm still undecided. The fact that
respect
you're here
everybody's-
answering questions is helping.
Everybody, you know, on the outside, because I've heard a lot of noise too, until you're in it. And when it comes to the finance side, just all due respect, like, I'm a very good resource to have. They're not gonna be able to tell you better than me. I can tell you that for a fact.
Well, can I ask you one
Capital
last question, and I'll
markets.
stop hogging the floor? You have the borough, you have the school board. Are we a make or break?
Listen, I would like, I don't wanna say that because I respect everybody. We all need to work together. I don't even wanna answer a hypothetical. Let's get to a point, I would like to have the support of the county and the support of everyone is what I would say.
Because we're the messiest one, in my opinion. Like Wilson
Yeah.
Borough, Wilson
Yeah.
School District, they're direct benefactors of that project. Like I said, Wilson is a small borough. The Dixie Cup is a big piece of the county, but there's a lot of people in this county that could care less and don't want their tax dollars supporting this project for one reason or another. Would you say that you could still pull this off without us?
Yeah, I don't wanna get into that, cause that's a, you know, if I answer it, which I do know the answer.
You're gonna shoot yourself in the foot, right?
Not even that I would shoot myself in the foot, but I'm just not that type of person. Like, I want to have all three taxing bodies working together, right? Because what I'm doing, I'm gonna keep my word, and I'm just trying to do something good. So if I can have the support of the county, and what I will say is, if I do have the support of the county, because you had said Bethlehem and Easton are sought-after locations, if I have the support of the county, Wilson will become one of those locations, I promise you. And if you do a little bit more digging, because I have I have acquired some other property around the building as well. So I'm looking to make Wilson one of those sought after areas as well.
I commend you for your ambition, and I hope you are a man of your word, because if this body supports you, I would very much hope that you follow through with all those things, because it would be huge for the borough of Wilson and for the county.
Well, if you ask the people in the school district, the county, any of I employ over 80 people, you speak to them individually, I got whole numbers and contact lists, they'll tell you, I've done everything I said I'm gonna do and more, because you know, in this industry, sometimes things come up and it wasn't even part of the agenda, and I've done that too. Thank you, everyone.
Hold on,
I did have more questions, but I don't know. I'm sorry.
hold on, we're not done yet.
Everything that we have asked of Brian, he has done. He is a man of his word. And if you know people that are
Your
local,
name and, for the
oh, I'm
record,
sorry,
please.
Judy Herbstreet, and I'm the president of the school board, Wilson. If you've talked to local contractors or developers who say they would do it, where are they? And as Mr. Warren has stated, I've been looking at that building for 33 years that I've lived here. And I go to the district almost every day. We look at that building every day. And when people come to our games, that's what they're looking at. he's given us a chance to remake that whole corner. And I know you're looking at it from a certain perspective. And yeah, we haven't gotten the taxes that we would have liked over the last how many years, because nobody's been in there. So, yeah, we're putting all of our faith into Brian. And he has been a man of his word, because I've been through this before with other developers, local ones, and I'm sure you know who they are. And it's always fallen through. So I have to tell you, I have 100%, and you have the 100% of the board's support. This is not an easy decision to make. I mean, we're a small district. We are a very small district. And if people from Bethlehem don't like it, frankly, that doesn't concern me. It doesn't really concern me. What concerns me are the people that live in my community and in Easton, because they're the ones that are driving around, and they're the ones looking at the building. And it's a prime location for people to move in, whether they're young people or whether they're downsizing. The apartments that he's got positioned are perfect for people coming from New Jersey, or people like me that may want to downsize. As I live in the township, I live in a house. My kids went through the district. They're both out of college. They're both working. It's what we want. It's what the district wants. So if you have any questions, you can come back to us, and we can tell you with 100% it was 9 out of 9. So, and we are the biggest piece of the puzzle. When you look at it, you're a smaller piece. The
You have to
boroughs-
understand, we don't just represent Wilson, we represent the whole county. So
I
when you say
underst-
I don't care about we have to worry about Bethlehem and Easton, and all the other townships.
Yes, you do. I don't.
I understand, and I respect your position, I respect was the board unanimous?
I look at all those buildings when I go through the dump, and all those warehouses, and go, there's no trucks in there. Where is it all going? I mean, we have questions too, that there have been development of buildings that they're not in use. So I have questions too, but they don't concern me. What concerns me is Wilson. And as a resident of Wilson for 33 years, and looking at that building, he is a breath of fresh air. And if he can make it all go away, it looks fabulous. Without the windows, I mean, it's gorgeous. And when you're coming through from Palmer and you're looking down at that building, it's like, oh my God, it's so different. It is going to make such a major change that we need in this small community that we have. We don't have much commercial interest. We're still going to get EIT, which is huge, when you count 405 apartments. So we're not going to walk away from this with empty hands. But I just have to tell you, the district is in on this 100%. And that's all I have to say. And thank you for your comments.
Thank you. Yeah, Mr. Barty, a couple questions. You mentioned the $251 per square foot. That doesn't tell me what the size of the units that you're actually building will be. How many square feet?
So the total building is 641,000 square feet.
What's the average unit how many square feet per apartment?
So the average unit is probably gonna be around 1,100 square feet. Our biggest 2 bedrooms are 1,800 square feet. The next size down are 1,400 square feet. So every unit is oversized according to the market.
All right, so based on that, 1,100 square feet at the 251 average that you talked about, you're going to be renting them for $2,700 and
The average
average.
rent is for the Dixies $2,452 actually.
$2,450. Okay.
$52.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the 40 units that you're putting the 1.1 million down for, you're still making money on. You're putting down 1.1 million in order to opt out on the low-income housing portion, which is in the TIF contract. You're paying 27,000 per unit, but my math says that that's going to be $1,800 a unit. Over 12 months of rental, so you're still $800 to the positive. It's not a bad deal.
So it doesn't.
Yeah, it's not a bad, I mean,
It's
of
for what
course
you're
gonna opt
saying,
out
for
of
what
it
you're
over
saying,
time.
it seems very minute, but HUD, they underwrite to a 117 debt service coverage, right? So again, this project is 185 million, so that.
No, that's okay.
Okay, okay.
I get you, I
Yeah,
get
yeah,
your,
yeah.
how
So
you
it's just-
have to.
I would if I could.
I get how you have to structure,
Mhm.
right? But if you look at the Lehigh Valley Planning Commission
Mm-hmm.
and all of that, everything is affordable housing, affordable housing, affordable housing.
Right,
There's no affordable housing in the 405 units that you're talking about, not at $2,400 average, and some are gonna be higher with that. So where does the affordable housing component of this come in, other than what you're saying is, well, I'm gonna give you 1.1 million, okay, that's nice as an opt-out, then you can take that 1.1 million and take your money and go invest it over here for affordable housing.
Right.
And you can leverage that 14-1,
Uh-huh.
according to your earlier statement, which is great, but that, we're talking about this project. So, I think you're getting a pretty good deal at 1.1 million, and I have a little bit of an issue with that as an opt-out. That's one statement that I have. At $2,450 a unit, right, you're still benefiting $650 per unit on that, and that's assuming no escalation in the rents going after market, right? Okay? That's one concern that I have, and the whole
you
thing.
want me to address it first before you go to the next one?
We'll go right ahead.
So just so we're clear, I'm not looking for a deal. This deal is so tight on the margins that, first of all, the taxing bodies are profiting more than I'm profiting, so let's just throw that out there. So between the county, the school district, and the borough, literally making more money than the developer. And this, the loan will probably be around 122 million. All the contingent liabilities, all the risk, even for the TIF, fall on me, none of the taxing bodies. So I'm not looking for a deal. I'm literally doing exactly what needs to be done to get this over the finish line, which is gonna be by the slimmest of margins. So the reason why I can't do it is because the model just simply can't hold it. I have no choice. I just.
No, I am
break.
not
But I'm not looking
disputing,
for a
I'm
deal.
not disputing how you have to finance a project. That's you said that straight up, 185 million, this is the capital mark, this is how I'm gonna put it together. I'm pulling apart issues that I have within how this is structured.
Sure.
Okay, and a big selling, heartfelt, it's affordable housing.
Right.
That's all we keep talking about, and yet that's completely wiped out of this project, just to be clear. There is no affordable housing in this 405 units after you provide the 1.1 million
Right.
opt-out in the TIF plan, which you're entitled to do.
Right.
Okay? That's one issue I have. The second issue is, if I remember your marketing on this, you expected how quickly, based on current market today, you'll be a couple of years before you quite get to it. How quickly you expect to sell out and lease out?
Rent out?
Lease out the
20 units a month is, so every, Greystar, they're the #1 multifamily management company in the country. So all the market studies are done by them, not by me. So 20 units a month is what my assumptions are.
All right, so at
Which is
20
in-
units a month, and you're talking about 20 months that you'd leased out.
Yeah, but you'll
on
start
a-
pre-leasing 4 months, you'll start pre-leasing 4 months before units are available. Now, the unique thing about the Dixie, so the first wings 1 and 4 are gonna be completed 12 months into construction. In Lehigh Valley, you can lease floor by floor. I lived in a building at the Commodore that did just that same thing. So the 2 wings, the 1 and 4, are gonna start pre-leasing probably around 8-9 months into construction, and then it'll go on from there. The total building is gonna take 16 months to complete. The total site, meaning parking and everything else, is 20 months.
Right, which goes to my next point. So you have 405 units that within 20 to I'll even give you 36 months, you're completely leased out. That's generating a ton of cash flow for
Yeah.
you at that point. So why do you need 20 years of tax increment financing in order to do that? Because if that is the case, and I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I did
It
run
is.
them before, based on the estimates, you're throwing off a ton of profit after 30 months. Why do you need an additional 17 years of tax break in order to make the project work? There's something in that math that seems a little odd to me. I don't have your expertise of when.
No, I'm going to make it simple, but that's a great question.
But you're going to be banking
Mm-hmm.
X dollars for 17 years before the TIF expires, and you start paying the full weight of the taxes to the three municipalities you're asking for a break for.
Absolutely.
So I do have a little bit of a issue with that. You deserve to make a profit, no doubt. You're putting your money at risk. But if I do the math, that is a lot of profit in a very short window of time, which, great. But why would I give you a 20-year break on the taxes that the taxpayers of this county should be benefiting from?
That's an amazing question. So I'll make it really simple. So let's take a 30-year mortgage. When you do, let's say you go from a 15-year to a 30-year mortgage. When you go on that 30-year mortgage, you see your payment gets a lot lower, but you could also borrow more money. So with a 20-year term, it actually allows me to achieve those TIF dollars. When you shrink that term, if we went from a 20 to a 10, my proceeds are going to get cut dramatically on the front end, which means then we don't close again. Try to just make it simple. So if there was a way where, you know, we can hit those proceeds, and then after, to your point, when we reach stabilization, then we can refinance that bond then and make it shorter, then it would make sense. But there's no way to do that under the law. We need a 20-year term so that we can maximize the proceeds so that we meet the equity constraint to close. Because if you do a 15 or a 10, obviously like in a mortgage, that payment is sky high, puts more pressure, less proceeds, you don't close, if that makes sense.
Yeah, okay. But
The longer term
so-
gives us more proceeds at the end so that we can actually close and fund the project. We're picking up more proceeds because of the longer term.
Right, but you're, just while you were talking, you're at the 405 units, just at your 2450 per month,
2452, yeah.
right? Okay. You're gonna be generating 12 million a year in cash flow. That's not your expenses, but that's just cash flow. So basically, at 12 million, you're looking at paying off completely everything, potentially, in 10 to 15 years. I mean, you're going to have the building done, all your debt paid off in 15 years. And again, you still got 5 years of a tax break beyond that. So that's what I'm having a little trouble swallowing.
That's good. That's a good point
The
too.
need in order to do that.
So just so you know, the expenses are close to $6 million. Then you have to pay debt service, right? So the debt service on the $122 million is right under $5 million. Our net profit after taxes, which is going to be going to pay off the bond, expenses, we're left with right under $2 million. So the 12 million is great, but by the time you get to the expenses and the debt service, because I have to pay the mortgage on the building or else I'll lose it, it's less than $2 million. The tax increment to the taxing bodies is 2.8.
So then let me pivot off of that. That's one, when I look at the numbers, that's.
But if it was a whole
one
number at 12
concern-
million, yeah,
one
then that would be
concern I
bigger,
have.
yeah.
Do you own the building currently?
Yes, I do.
Do you own it outright, or are you?
There's
in-
11 million, actually $10 million mortgage, because I have a second on it where the back taxes I own, but that's my mortgage. So
Okay.
10 million.
All right, and do you have a partner, or do you own it outright?
I have partners.
You have partners
Yes, I
in,
do.
in that? The
Mhm.
current, was
I'm
it,
the managing partner.
you're the managing partner
Sole decision
of that,
maker,
okay.
yada, yada, yada.
Because I saw that you did buy it, or your group bought it, but it shows $1 on the transfer deed, so it didn't tell me anything when I looked at that. Another concern I have is when I go to try to find your background, it's pretty scarce. Can't find reports, can't find, looked up your company's name, looked up your name.
Can't find my company, we've been in business for 10 years. We
Not,
structured the, we
you have a nice website,
wait,
and,
we structured
and
the
that's
RF
about,
wait,
that's
we
about it.
structured the RFP for the city of New Rochelle in 2018
Right,
to bring
but that's
Amazon.
that's you as as you said earlier.
As my company.
You're a finance, you're
Yeah.
a broker, right? You broker the finance for your clients.
Yeah,
That's what you put together. You put these deals
course.
together, but not as a developer. This is your
No, no,
first
no.
developer,
absolutely.
right? So
Uh,
you don't have a record as
So
a
before we go there,
developer, but as
Yeah.
a financier,
1,000%,
correct?
absolutely.
Okay.
But my partner and my best friend, who started out as my client, who's David Amarian of the Amarian Group, who came before here, you all before, he's literally completed $1 billion worth of development. He just won Developer of the Year in 2024 for for residential. So he's building these $40-50 million homes. So if it was just me, first of all, if it was just me, I wouldn't be able to sign on a loan. David's worth over $100 million, right? So wherever I lack the experience, I've put the industry best with me. So he is my partner. So David is the developer. So Skyline Investment Group, we are well insulated. So myself, no, I've not done any buildings. I've just been blessed to be successful, put my capital in, but structuring deals, I haven't found one better than me. David is the developer of the Amarian Group.
And he is a partner in Skyline
Yes,
Development.
he is.
Uh,
Well, he's a partner in Skyline Investment Group Easton, which owns the building.
All right, so he's an investor in the building.
He's not an investor, he's a developer. He does not have $1 into it, but he's bringing his experience, he's signing on the contingent liabilities when we go to close the construction loan. So he is the developer.
So those are the concerns that I have. It just seems a little nebulous in some ways for me. I haven't been able to nail it down. I understand to Mr. Gafredo's point, the cost of the project's $185 million. Okay, I won't argue that point with you. But you're asking for a 20-year tax break, which other than coming before us once or twice, it's all been handled by the IDA and the school district and not really in conjunction with this body. And I've had this concern from the beginning, that a 20-year TIF seems egregious in many ways.
Are you comfortable, Mr. Brown, with the tax that the county is receiving now, their portion that they're receiving now? Is that okay?
It's not a matter if I think it's okay or not. I get where you're going with the.
I was
with
just-
the
I was
question.
just-
It's like, oh, great, yeah, if we could bring in 10 times the amount of taxes, that'd be wonderful. If you could do that in 10 years, that'd be even better, but you're not. You're looking to do it in 20 years.
So you're looking, so if I'm hearing it correctly, so basically, your objection is you want to get to the realized tax revenue faster, is where you're trying to be.
Well, that is part of it, but then also the risk is being put on the taxpayers of this county for that long period of time.
Now, when you say risk, these are non-recourse bonds, so the only one that's at risk is me, so it's nothing going on the county's contingent liabilities, taxpayers don't have to.
Okay, it's still, I get what you're saying, but it's still 20 years in my mind. Either way, that we're not benefiting from the taxes.
So
that
for
you're
20
asking
years,
for.
if the building sat this way, you would still be receiving the level of taxes that you're receiving now.
No, I get, but
Okay.
I get the argument, and with all due respect to the borough that's had to, and the school district that has to look at this building.
Right.
And have had to look at it for the last 40 years, so.
With the $1.1 million into the low-income housing fund, if I was able to show the county and actually structure the deal for the county, if there was land, that I can turn that 1.1 into more units than the 41, would that be sufficient for you? Would that make you happy?
I mean, right now, I'm just focused on.
Okay.
On your.
Because you said I'm not,
focused on your deal, the terms of your deal, what the county
that's
may
part
or
of
may
my
not
deal.
do. No, I understand that, which
Okay.
is a sweet deal, and I'd probably be opting out also, because, you know, you're basically still you're still profiting off of the, significantly off of those extra 40 units over the life of your building by, after the 1.1 million, that's 1 year of rent that you would be collecting off of those 40 units. You're paying that down to opt out so that the next 20 years, you can collect the full market rate at $24.50 per unit per month, which is, I would take that all day long, as you would, obviously.
This deal, John, just so you know, Mr. Brown, is not about profit for me. This deal does not make that much money at all, just being honest. This is very personal for me. I care. I've given my word to a lot of people. This building is one of the most important buildings in the country that's dilapidated. So it's not about profit. This building is too expensive to really make any real money. It's not going to happen with the Dixie. It's just not. 1.8 million. I'm $15 million in to clear $1.8 million, and that's if everything goes perfect. So it's not about the money. It's about me keeping my word, and there's people I care about up here. I moved up here. I bought into this. So this will springboard me, build my credibility, build my reputation with the county and the other taxing bodies for my bigger plan, which then I will make some money. But the Dixie is not it. It's too expensive. It won't happen. So it's not about me getting a deal. It's not about me turning a profit. It's just not.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hang on one second. Let me, I have one more question, then I'll come back to you. Mr. Cox, this TIF has been advertised already?
The public hearing notice.
And who authorized the release of the advertisement?
That was
for this?
coordinated through the county administration, the solicitor's office, and the chief clerk.
All right, but this body didn't authorize advertising for this ordinance as of yet, because we're having the discussion today.
It's not the ordinance that was advertised, it's the public
The
hearing.
public hearing, which is
required by
linked
the
to
act.
linked to the ordinance and this TIF plan that we're directly talking about today, right? All right, no, thank you. You answered my question. Thank you. Yeah. Mr. Warren.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. As we go round and round, this project is very reminiscent of the Simone Silk Mill project down in Easton. When I was on Easton City Council and helping to oversee what that project was going to bring to Easton and inevitably bring to Northampton County, there were a lot of good questions. The developer at the time, VM Development, I believe it was, and I believe that gentleman was a, quote, first-time developer who came from New Jersey and was very invested in the Easton community. And there were a lot of questions. There were a lot of good questions that the public had with regard to that project and that building that had laid vacant for so many years was not just an eyesore, but environmentally, it was dangerous. And there was a vision. And it's amazing what has happened with that project and how we all oversaw what that project not only inevitably did for the city, but really what it did for the county too. Because I think, and I take issue with this isn't going to benefit the county in general, is that there is an idea and concept of regional interdependence. I think there's a concept of quality of life improvements that are going to be made here, which is reflective of the county and also just county-wide reputation. Whether it was a Simone Silk Mill, whether it's Wind Creek, whether it's various development projects, whatever scope and size throughout Northampton County, we are establishing a positive reputation for economic development projects that end up improving our quality of life. And I think the countywide reputation aspect of this is so very important because it means other people are going to want to come here and invest. You know, whether it was the gentleman, I'm forgetting his name, from VM Development, who did the Simone Silk Mill, or whether it's Mr. Barty, who has come here and wanted to embark on this project. At the end of the day, the regional interdependence of how it affects this business and this business and this business, and how folks are living their lives, and whether somebody from New York comes and rents out one of these apartments and 3 years later says, you know what, I'd really like to open up a bakery shop, and it somehow makes a difference on a certain block in Wilson or it makes a difference in the lives of that individual who is invested in the community, I don't think it just benefits Wilson. I think it benefits our entire county from a county-wide reputational standpoint and quality of life issues. I wanted to put that on the record because I take issue with the fact that it doesn't benefit everybody in the county.
Mr. Cox, have both the school district and the borough already voted on this current? Because I know they voted on the past
Correct.
model, but this current one, they have
They have.
agreed, and they both said
Yes, ma'am.
yes. And when did that occur?
On
When were those
the
votes taken?
11th and 14th of August, I believe, off the top of my head. I'm sorry, that's the 14th for the school district. It was scheduled for the 11th by the borough, but they moved it to their second meeting in August, which I think was the 25th.
That's done.
Correct.
I had another question, but there was a lot of words, and I don't know if it's for you. Mr. Bartier, I think I have two more questions for you for today. Hopefully as succinctly as possible.
Yeah.
Why did you get involved in this project to begin with? Why this project?
That's a very personal and intimate story, so I'd rather
Succinct.
my mother lives up here. I first laid eyes on the building in 2018, so I knew what I was looking at then, but it took me a while until like 2022 until I was in the position to have the wherewithal to actually embark on it, because a building like this or any development that you're going to do, you have to have the wherewithal to do it, and that was the time I was able to go after it, start in 2022.
Thank you. That was succinct. That was good. I heard you say two conflicting things. So which is true? You said, I need this money or else I can't do it, I'm out. And then I heard you say, I'm here for the long haul.
Those are conflicting things?
Yeah, well, are you here for the long haul or are you out? Like, what's, like,
No,
you're going to drop the project and still be here?
So I said, if I don't get the TIF, I have to pick my ball up and go home. That means the project is dead. So that doesn't mean I'm not here for long. I moved up here. But in finance, if your deal doesn't debt service, you don't have a deal. So that's what the TIF does. So it wasn't that they were in, I'm going to be here regardless. But, yeah.
Do you have other projects that you're planning or that you're working on simultaneously?
Yes. I don't want that. That's a good question. Come on, Lori.
Say what?
Are you kicking me, Lori? Oh, man.
I could keep going, but we all have to get to dinner.
man.
I'll kick you later. How's that? Take a breakie. I have serious concerns about the completion of the project. I have serious concerns about the fee in lieu. I don't like that number at all. I agree with Mr. Brown in part, and it's my understanding that that money's already been planned out by the county as to where it's going to be. So when I hear you saying, if I could show you where I could do this, that's interesting, but I still think do you plan to sell the building when it's done, or you plan
No.
to own it and
Hold.
reap the profits from the?
It's a hold.
Okay. So you stand to make a lot more money long-term than that 1.1 million represents in 20 years for people who can't afford to move into your building. So I'm curious to see that number, if you're willing to revisit that. That's my big concern.
The number, which number do you need me to repeat?
1.1 million.
Affordable housing, how you would help
Yeah.
finance more.
We've had people come before with the previous model saying, that are experts in this area, saying that number should be a lot higher for the scope and
Yeah.
the profit that you stand to make on this project.
I've
So I
heard-
understand tonight more about how you're looking at the money and the debt, et cetera. But long-term for this community, that 1.1 million isn't even planned for Wilson Borough. It's planned for other areas. And so that doesn't make me happy for them. And if these folks can't move into that building, then how does that help us? So, as someone who's committed to this and committed to the county, I would hope you would reconsider that. And that's all I have.
I respect everyone's vote, whichever way it goes, yes, no, it's okay. The deal, again, it's not about if I can give 2, if I could give 3, I would. It's not like a discretionary thing for me. It's literally what the deal can debt service. Like that's what I offered. That's what I set forth. So I don't know how many developers come before the taxing bodies and actually, because I can't pay this money from the TIF. I actually have to take this money, put it into my project costs, pay interest on the money that I'm paying the taxing bodies as well, and I have to pay interest on that for 40 years. So that 1.1 is 1.1 million times 4.5% on a 40-year amortization. That's how much I'm really giving to the county, because that's what I'm responsible for, and that's what I have to pay. So if you could consider that as well. But that's what the deal can hold. Okay? Oh, and John, by the way, I love what the lady said for the school district, and that's part of the big reason why I'm doing it. It's personal for me, but we did do the road studies. Eventually, God willing, if we get to that point, we are going to improve the infrastructure as well, as far as roads and traffic and things of that nature. So we are looking at these things as projects are going up. So it's not like we're just going to put on units and not consider the traffic around us as well.
Listen, first of all, you got to understand, you come in, look for a tax break, we got to give you at least some sort of scrutiny.
No, of course.
Mr. Warren, I know you're a smart guy. You know that, yeah, this could be a net positive, but there's going to be people that don't like it. You know what I mean? Like, and we have to represent all those people. So some people might say, it's going to increase the traffic or this or that. At the end of the day, no matter what we do, something gets to draw scrutiny here.
Of course.
So I think you understand that as well.
Yes, I do.
Listen, I hope it's a very successful project. Whether this body supports it or not, I still hope it's successful for you. Like I said, I'm going to keep weighing it. I've been thinking about this for a long time. My decision is still undecided, but I think you're the real deal. I think you have very grand ambitions, but you could say you're going to do improvements for the infrastructure around the area, but if it's not in writing, it means nothing. You know what I mean? Like if there's nothing in that deal that you're going to stay here and not sell for, if somebody offers, a private equity firm comes and says, here's $300 million for it, when you finish it, you're going to take it? You say no, but can I hold you to that?
Well, to that point, that's an amazing question. I have to at least hold the building for 5 years guaranteed,
Yeah,
because
and
it's
that's my point. It's like after
that's
5
in
years,
writing. It's a
private
tax
equity
credit.
comes in. Now all of a sudden, some guys in Malaysia own it. You know what I mean? Like we don't know. But if a guy like Nat Hyman comes in here and says, I could do it for, I'll do it without the TIF, I have to take that into consideration. I heard somebody say, here we go. It's like, he literally came in here and said that. Now, is he going to do it? I don't know. You got the building. You're doing it right now.
I've heard his name often, and I understand some of the inner workings with him, and I know the product that he also builds. I also know he's been up here for a very, very long time. I've only been involved for 3 years. So there was another 37 years for him to go and get it. Why? Just like all the other developers. I'm not a person that likes to grandstand. I like to stay out of the public and just produce. But none of these people spent any money. It was there for them to get it. I know if he would have made a real offer and if he was serious, Joseph would have sold him that building. He would have owned it long, long ago.
Listen, none of my business. The only thing that's my business is whether or not the county part of this. Everything else that you're talking about, the affordable housing and as far as you should be able to charge as much as you can get for that. That's part of your business. You're supposed to make money. You shouldn't take any shame in that. I hope you make a lot of money on this, and you can do the next project. That's what makes good businessmen good businessmen.
Yeah.
So for that,
I appreciate it, everyone.
yeah, absolutely.
Thank you so much.
I have one
Am
more
I-
question
everybody's
for
good with me?
Mr. Cox.
Lori?
Oh,
Mr. Cox? Section 11, agreements for financial security for project costs, speaks about a cooperation agreement, but is that attached somewhere, or am I missing it?
No,
or
that
is it
has not been, well, I actually have a draft of it, but it's typically on tax increment financing deals, that is finalized in connection with the bond offering process once you have a better sense of what the final sizing will be for the bond. So that agreement will be signed on or immediately prior to closing. I mean, a draft will be presented to the taxing bodies and their solicitors for review. But that's not part of, it doesn't have to be approved now. There will be an opportunity. This is only one step in the process.
No, I understand, but,
Yeah.
you know, it's
So
here
the
and
second big
for us
step
to
is the-
approve it without seeing at least
The-
part
the-
of what it looks
The
like is.
cooperation agreement is, the statute says that the taxing bodies have to adopt a resolution to opt in the case of the taxing bodies not creating the district, the school district and the borough in this case. And then the county approves the district by ordinance. But that's not a binding, bond lawyers like to have contracts that are binding agreements among multiple parties. So they just take those statutory obligations and they put them into a contract that says, yep, you've approved this by resolution, but the three of you agree by contract that you're going to do what you've said you're going to do in the resolution. And then that you're going to collect these taxes in the ordinary course, and you're going to remit the incremental taxes associated with the project to the trustee for the bondholders. That's basically what it says. It spells out what the base tax rate is on the property, which we can't confirm until right before we sell the bonds.
And then what continued role, the authority is the IDA, correct?
They'll be the issuer of the bonds. Yep.
And do they receive a percentage also?
They have an administrative fee associated. They have a TIF policy and TIF guidelines that set that fee. It's a 1%. Their TIF issuance fee is 1% at closing of the par amount of the bonds, and 1% of the debt service over the life of the bonds. And that was not. We were told that was non-negotiable. So that's what it is.
Say that again, I'm sorry.
That was non-negotiable.
By
with
whom?
The authority, with the authority. That's their established, policy fee schedule.
Thank you.
I have just one clarifying, in looking at the TIF detail of the 185 million, you have hard construction contingency, soft costs, and then reimbursement of acquisition costs of 9.8 million. That 9.8 million, does that go back to you, Mr. Barty, for cost of?
Mr. Brown, you're looking at the sources and
This
uses.
is page 5,
exhibit.
page 5, 4, tax increment financing plan, page 5 of the plan of this copy.
Page 5 of the plan. Oh, I see.
Section 4.
Yeah, so the total, I see, page 5. I'm with you. I just wanted to make sure we were
Yeah,
looking at
yeah.
the same.
So what is the 9.8 million going towards? Was it reimbursement of acquisition costs? What does that actually mean?
So those were costs that the developer, that Brian and his partners fronted for the acquisition that will be reimbursed from, primarily from his $120 million HUD mortgage.
Right, but that money is flowing back to the developer and the owner, correct?
Have to be at the mic, sir. Oh, I'm so sorry. And I'm not even running this meeting. It's automatic, right?
Okay, I'm back. So developers and owners can't take money from the TIF and put it in their pocket.
Correct.
So but you need TIF eligible costs to qualify to get those dollars. So every single dollar of this TIF is literally there's gonna be an intercreditor agreement that's gonna be entered between the lender and the IDA, right? So I never see any of that money in my pocket. That's literally the money, that's the equity constraint, along with the tax credit money that we're getting as well. All that money is going to be entered into an intercreditor agreement with our senior constructing lender, which is HUD, and that's the equity constraint to close. So I never get that money. That money doesn't touch my pocket. I don't even see it, if that answers the question. But
Well,
that's
but it
a
says-
TIF eligible cost.
But it's
that'll- that-
reimbursement of costs, so this is money that you've outlaid already,
Well, it's the mortgage that we already have on the building.
Right.
But it's eligible under the TIF
Yeah,
Act, which
okay, now I
allows
got,
us to.
so, but then
But yeah.
the money's flowing towards that cost pool in
Yeah,
a
of
TIF
course.
eligible.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, any other questions? Mr. Giovanni?
Mr. Barty, I need to ask you a question, so come on up.
Move your chair closer. I'll just sit right here.
Yeah, right. My question is, now, the taxes on the assessed value of the building, now, I'm not talking the back taxes.
Right.
I'm just talking with the assessed now, because when you do the project, of course, the assessment will go up, but all that money goes back to the TIF to go pay off your debt. So what is that, what is the tax per year for that to be paid out for these, that goes to the three taxing authorities? That
The current base tax,
Yeah,
so the current base tax, yeah, through the life of the TIF loan, the current base tax that's in place now, they keep receiving that all the way through.
Right, but what's that amount? 15?
Currently assessed at 1.3 million.
So that's a one, that's assessed. But what's the tax that's due to the three taxing authorities? Right.
I think it was
just-
like,
I mean, just a
like
ballpark.
$140,000 or something like that.
Okay.
Cause I paid like 850,000 plus back taxes, so it's like 140,000 total, something like that.
Right.
Between the taxing bodies.
Right, so let's say it's 130 now.
Yeah.
And then, of course, like you say,
As it
the
increases,
millage
whatever,
goes
yeah.
up to increase.
Yeah.
That will also go up. But the
Yes.
rest of it, with the new additions and all the new stuff you're doing, that increase in assessment will be going back to the TIF to pay for the.
Yes,
Correct?
correct.
Okay. All I was looking for, just to see what that value was. Yes.
All right, any other questions? Tom, Jeff, you guys good? Okay. All right, school district, borough, any last comments before we move on while you're here? Yeah, please, go ahead.
Yeah, just two things real quick. One of the things I like to do is I like to sit and listen, and a lot of times it's scary because the first thing that I wanted to bring up is just, the direction. I think Mr. Warren, you said it, is that, think of Easton back in the early 90s. Think about what it was back then. There was no direction. There was no vision. There was nothing going on there. I grew up in Southside, so I knew how it is. I lived 2 blocks away from the projects. And to see what it is nowadays, they had a vision to what to do. And it all had to start somewhere. And that big thing is now you look at it, and I had to check the number, and I think it's close to, 90 LRTAs in Easton right now? So you're talking about all those individual projects, and there's so many tax breaks, but yet there's no opposition with that. So I'm just I'm sitting here and we're talking about one project, and I feel like it's just like, what is the difference between those 90 projects and this one giant project that could really change our future? That's first and foremost. Second, when it comes to, are we worried about taxes, losing out the taxes for 20 years? I mean, look at the building now. How many people are actually in there? Nobody. Not a single person. But then thinking 5 years down the line when it's full, just all the amount of taxes that we as the borough and the school district will be receiving, that's better than where we are right now. And I would just, that's 2 pluses that I just want to see. So I just need to make those comments just because I felt just from listening over the last half hour, I just really feel strongly about that. Thank you. Go.
I agree with you. You and the school district and the county is responsible for the 40 years the way that sat there. You guys gave Riemann all the freedom in the world, because when taxes were due, he went and made a payment, and you couldn't do anything. You couldn't sheriff sale it. And he kept going on like that for 40 years. And I understand it looks terrible, but we should have done something earlier.
Yeah.
That's what he did. He knew enough that he could make a tax payment that nobody here, the 3 taxing authorities, couldn't do nothing.
And I 100% agree with you because, I can't speak for, the 20 or 30 plus years that I wasn't on council, but I can speak for the last 8. And I agree, it was constantly frustrating. And when I came here, and I don't know if you remember, that I said we all need to do a better job. I believe this point now is that we've reached that point. This is something, I never thought in my entire term that we would get to this point. And now we're here, and Ms. Herbstreit, I wish I had half your passion. I gotta learn speech from you. That was great. But it's frustrating because it just feels like we're talking in circles at some points instead of talking, I've heard the frustrations from county council. I've heard it from our council. I've heard it from the school district. I've heard it from residents from all over. What is going to happen with that Dixie? We have a plan right here in front of us. And, you know my feeling behind it. I would love to see it happen.
Yeah, I mean, it's a shame that it's gone that far.
Amen.
That's what I said. I mean, it's a shame. Because I agree with you. I mean, my wife worked at Easton Hospital. Every time I come down and look at it, I'm like, oh, my God. And they used to use the parking lot before they put the garage up. But, I mean, it's just a shame that we let Mr. Reedman get away with that for so
I agree.
long.
I agree 100% with you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, thank you. No, we're gonna go ahead and move on now. Yeah, yeah. Correct. But thank you. That'll be published. Second meeting in October for the county council, yeah, which would be, is it the 16th? With the 4th and, yeah, October 16th tentatively. All right, we're going to move on. Thank you, everyone, for your, on that. Thank you, Mr. Barty. All right, next we're going to review of Area Agency on Aging donation. I don't know if anybody wants to be here to comment on that from Human Services. Basically accept a $1,000 donation from Lehigh Valley Aging in Place to go towards meals for seniors. Okay. Good morning, good evening.
It's tomorrow morning already?
Almost, right.
Any questions?
Sorry about that.
Okay. I'm awake now. Any questions?
This looks pretty easy compared to the last one.
Yeah.
I sure
just
hope so.
Any comments on that, or?
No, I don't have anything to add to that memo.
Okay, and then we have, while you're there, the next one would be donation, again, to authorize Human Services, Drug and Alcohol to accept a $2,000 donation from Reeb Millwork to stock essential items for the RISE van. Just remind us what the RISE van
The
is.
RISE van is the recovery initiative supporting everyone. That is our mobile outreach vehicle. And what I will add about this is, actually we have a nice photo. They did Dunk Your Boss Day at Reeb. That was how they collected those donations. And they're going to be partnering with our drug and alcohol folks to bring the RISE van back to their organization as well. So.
Any questions? Go ahead, Jeff.
To go back to the first one.
Sure.
Where will the meals be served?
For the Lehigh Valley Aging in Place, I think it is just contributing towards the meals that we already provide, so it could be at any of the senior centers, yep.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, sir.
Yep.
Next one then is, we're going to discuss local share account statewide funding grant for emergency management services for Northampton County. And I see Mr. Weaver, Director Weaver, coming forward.
Morning, Commissioners.
Good morning, Mr. Weaver.
Nah, good evening. Only kidding. This is basically, it is the LSA grant. We have an opportunity to apply for both the Northampton County share and the Monroe County share. So the grant's actually duplicated. If we're able to award both, that's great. We can get more, and it is for mobile and portable radios for emergency management, Sheriff's Department, and coroners. We're going to see what we get, if we get the grant, of how many radios we can start phasing and replacing our radios that we have.
Is this, Todd, the bond issue is $5 million set aside for you in the bond issue, that the
that is separate.
That's why I'm at.
Yep, no, this isn't any part. This is We kind of create, and at least emergency management, and that we create shovel-ready projects. So we kind of already had this aside when LSAs or even some other like pipeline grants come up, that we're kind of doing that. We kind of included the sheriff because with our last contract that we did with Motorola, we actually leveraged and replaced our portable radios in emergency management. So we only need to replace a few mobiles in our command trucks, like we kind of been phasing them in with some of the smaller grants we get. So that's why we kind of included the sheriff as part of it and the coroner's office. So if we are successful in this LSA, and the reason we kind of push those amounts is from the history and working with Tina, that's about the amount, the highest amount that the LSAs are doing. So we kind of worked the project in there, but we kind of kept them generic if we need to move mobiles to portables, the number ratio, depending on the awards.
If you don't get the grants, you have money set aside to purchase and do the
We
upgrades?
will start plugging away with grants and put it in a regular
keep
budget
on it.
cycle and
Okay,
stuff. Yeah.
okay.
Just an opportunity that if we were able to leverage some of that gaming funds to help us with radios, we're going to try to take advantage of that.
Questions for Jeff? Go ahead.
Yes.
Any of this money trickle down to municipalities?
Actually, a lot of the fire departments and municipalities do apply for this grant, and they are fairly successful in radios. I know when we talk to our Motorola rep, they're probably up over 500 sales in their radios. Harris, I know they have Easton Police, Wilson Police and stuff, so there are a lot of departments that are actually converting over at this point. I mean, right now, because we have everything patched, they do the dual band so they can phase in and out, and right now we're starting to hopefully start moving out of the testing to actually loading the south side of for the police there.
So it's on their initiative to apply for the grants?
It is. They have to go through the local municipality. Like our fire department last year applied for an LSA for a tanker, and we had to have the municipality sponsor us local with the resolution, and it was a year process, and they award, and we got 3 years to spend that. So yes, it is. We do, when we have the chiefs meetings, we sit there right now, like the state fire commissioner grants open, it's almost, I don't want to say if you can write in crayon, but if you can pretty much write in a paragraph what you need and the need, they're almost guaranteed between $10,000 and $15,000. And the county public safety grant, we kind of push that out and encourage them to start phasing. Yeah, you might not be able to do it all in one shot, but if you get multi-purpose, you can start phasing.
Let Tom go first, I want to listen.
Todd, how you making out with the towers moving up towards, with that? With the towers, with the expansion they were gonna add to move the,
That's going to be later.
oh, okay.
Any other?
Yeah,
Nope, and DCD is the conduit of who's applying, doing the application, but we're providing information. So that's why you see DCD as part of it, because they handle the last application and stuff, so.
So I have a comment, and I don't remember exactly what, so I will pass it on to you, but I got a notice today from someone at CCAP saying that there's one municipality fire company that has not submitted some information, and it's holding
It's
up.
actually with the state fire commissioner grant. They have to put in their final report, and
But it's
they
going to hold
have
up
been-
everybody else, so do you know who that is, and can you poke
they
them?
should
I will
hold-
contact you and
They'll actually
share
hold
that.
up that department. If you have a name, I can,
I don't, they just let me know, so I'll
I'll
get
look through
that
my
to you.
emails, because I know they send us a naughty list.
Oh,
Try
okay.
to encourage those
Well,
departments.
especially-
And their reports, especially, I mean, it's funds available.
So we're giving you the bond, and the bond is for the tower expansion, correct?
Yep, that is coming up later.
Right, that's okay. And then all of these radios are just for you and us internally for our radios.
for the
But each
county agency.
municipality and each fire company, and there's how many in the county?
There's 38 municipalities, and I'll call them 39 fire departments, because I include the 2 rescue squad, roughly
Right.
12 EMS.
So how many
21
of
PD.
those have actually begun to purchase, and do you have a list, or are you
We do have a
working with
list. I
them?
don't have that in front of me, but right now, I can tell you the larger municipalities have started to transition to it. Believe it or not, even some of our smaller ones have transitioned to do it. I mean, I can tell you from our point and my fire department where I volunteer, every one of our truck are transitioned over to the new radio styles. Now we're just plugging away at portables where we have opportunities.
I would be curious. I mean, I'm not going to stop us from getting what
Somewhat-
we need, but my concern is that some of these folks aren't going to have the means as well as others. And so what are we doing to make sure?
We have the cross patch in place. So their legacy radios will actually work on the system. We have them patched together today. So right now I can talk on the P25 system and it goes over, and I'll call it the legacy system, our 500. Those patches are in place right now. as a beta. Bethlehem Township Police Department is actually operating portable radios on the P25 system, while the other departments are on the 500, and they're communicating back and forth. It's a hard patch we do at the core at the center, and the core is the main brains of the P25 system. So we put that in place. We don't have any cutoff date on that because we want to see how departments progress and how they move on and move forward. It may be phased. So if all of the departments on our Southern Police Channel, what we call South PD 1, if they're all transitioned to the 500, then we'll probably drop that class, remove that maintenance, and then move on these other departments. As fire departments transition, some of those TAC channels will come off, or those patches will drop as we look at that, as they move forward with transitioning.
So, as I was saying, I would really like to see, like, what resources some of these companies have, where there is need. I know that Tina's department would be part of this. Now, the EMS grants, have people been putting in?
Yes.
Do we have that list yet? Are those grants been awarded for this year yet?
I
So
think she
they're in
just compiled
process
her
of
list.
being reviewed? I'm just curious how many of them are putting in for that, how many they need. But, and then what are we doing in terms of maybe looking, because obviously the county cannot foot the bill for all of these. Municipalities clearly have to put in, some of them have fire tax, some of them don't. But what are we doing to get extra money from the state and/or the feds to help support this
So
project?
we're encouraging the departments to apply for LSA grants, the fire commissioner, state fire commissioner grant, even the county grant. There are other grant opportunities, the pipeline grants, and anytime we get those opportunities, my hazard mitigation recovery, he sends them out to the fire departments to make sure they have them. We've given letters of recommendation. As far as police departments, a lot of them apply for the COPS grants. And actually, we received one of the COPS grants to add the additional Montana Mountain Tower site that I think about 6 months ago that my deputy director was in about.
And I forgot to even ask about the police. Is this,
Yes.
because I always think of fire and EMS with you, but then the police need to upgrade
Yep.
these radios too?
Yes,
So
yes.
every municipal police and city police
Yes.
have to have this as well?
Yep. You got to remember our largest police department is already done because they were on the system.
Right,
I know
right.
Easton, they secured a COPS grant with Wilson. Easton Fires even have their radios transitioned ready to go. They're not up on the system because we got to have final acceptance, so it's all public safety stamped before you start putting units on there. So there are several departments that have transitioned. Some of them that you would think wouldn't, and they call and say, yeah, we got a bunch of radios, because they also do the AFG grants through the federal fire grants.
So could you give us a report on that? I mean, I don't need
I-
it tomorrow. I'm not gonna, it's not like an
Yeah,
overnight
some of
homework,
it,
but
is
could we
depending
get
on the
some
model of
that?
the radio, we may not know if they put the features in or not, but we can probably get a kind of guess of who's transitioning, because we do a radio off as long as they're giving us the info.
And is there somebody in Tina's department, I'm not gonna make you walk all the way up, you could just go yes or no. Is there somebody in your department that would assist these folks with the grants if they need that, or are they expected to do it through their municipality?
Ideally, the municipality, but we can offer help, yes, if they contact us.
Good, thank
And we
you.
even help and explain the process, depending on which grant or where it's coming out of.
Yeah, and just for the record, Tina said yes. Because I heard her, but I don't know. I mean, you probably were good. Well, I don't know if they picked you up, but I just want to say that. Yeah, I'm just concerned because I don't know, you know, some people are better at this than others. And so I just want to make sure that everybody has it because we're talking about public safety all over the place. So thank you for that.
Are you done?
I am done. I know you have
Thank
dinner
you,
waiting.
Mr. Brown. Yeah, no, just in response to the questions you had, as an example, I've been meeting with Allen Township and their local folks now for well over a year with regard to this, trying to provide some direction. They're using public safety grants, as well as they have a plan of action for the future, because I believe it's going to cost them well over $200,000. So that being said, I mean, I can't speak on behalf of every municipality in my District 3 that I represent, but with Allen Township, and I think a lot of townships and municipalities, they do have a plan of action. It's just going to take some time to get there. And I know that Allen Township has applied for, I believe they've applied for $20,000 through the public safety grants. So I'm hoping we're able to get that for them. So I think a lot of municipalities do have a plan of action in place at this point. It's just a matter of getting there.
And then the tower completion, your estimated time?
Yeah, we'll just, we'll go.
Oh, is that the next one?
That's
Sorry.
next.
All right.
Yeah,
But it's all
Real
part of
quick.
the, it's all together, right?
Before we go to Tara about the radios, this amount of money will get roughly how much percentage of the
Actually,
radio
it
needs
would
for the
be a
county?
total of 18. It's a mix of mobiles and portable radios. The mobiles are a little more expensive because of the installation of the vehicle. The portables are easy, and we doesn't include any of the programming because we do the programming in-house ourselves.
How many do we have total in the county?
For us right now, emergency, we have, at least 10 portable radios and probably about, I would say, 5 mobiles. Probably more than that. Sheriff's Department haven't started their conversion yet.
Okay. And how much, is it a financial strain to be running both bands? Like, if, let's
Well,
say
yeah, it is. The
everybody's
sooner I get
converted-
off of it, the better, yes.
Yeah, so I
Yes.
was gonna say, it's not cheap to be running both bands, running maintenance on both.
It's not, but when we first started the project, we obligated to try to keep that 500 patch up until we see. Will we probably need to eventually push some departments to, get a plan? If they haven't, then
Yeah,
yes.
what would be your time frame in order, what would you say to the smaller municipalities that are probably being procrastinating on it? 5 years?
They should be planning now.
Yeah, right? Like,
they-
you got 5 years to
And
change
as you
over or
replace them,
less?
and a lot of departments held off just to see what our time frame is. I know our department held off. I mean, we had older portable radios, and now we're finally starting to just cycle them through just time frame and getting in a grant cycle. It actually makes the grants easy to write because we just recycle it.
Thanks, Todd.
Well, we'll move off of the LSA grant then, and Todd, while you're here, then,
Okay.
let's just go right to the review of the administrative code, Article 13, contracts. We'll jump over to the Motorola Solutions, so that's an extension of what we've just been
Yeah.
talking about. Request to approve a contract with Motorola for the Project 25 radio system, northern expansion for three-year term of $8.725, $298,000. You want to just,
Yeah, so this is I'll call it the northern expansion. I made them put on it because we are going across the mountain. So this is going to include what we call our Fox Gap site, which is above Upper Mount Bethel, our Palmerton site, which is just in Lehigh County on the other side of the gap there. Penn Teledata site, that is a site that we actually checked out and will be actually really viable for this, and that actually gets us off the Jandal site. That is just on the ridge there by Blue Mountain Ski Area. And then we have the Transco site, which is the site that's above Penardrel. So those are the 4 sites that are going to be added and integrated into the system. Part of that also is going through the entire system to make sure everything is current to its latest version and all of those things. So everything is all seamlessly together, and they'll bring these sites up. So when we talk about the expansion itself with a 1-year warranty, that is the $6 million that is coming, 5 out of the bond, 1 out of that you allocated during budget time last year. So that is what gets the system. So just like we did before when we did the initial lease, we always have to negotiate what maintenance is going to be. So we'll actually start picking up maintenance off of our existing contract in 2027. We're able to negotiate a pretty significant, I know it's not a reduction in maintenance, but it's a lot cheaper per site than what it is for what we pay for a 3-site system right now. Because the 4-site expansion in the south still is not on maintenance yet. It's just went on warranty now for over a year. It will be all the way until the end of next year.
Todd,
So,
based on what you just said, the $6 million covers the first year warranty.
the actual installation and expansion
And
of
is
the
there any
system.
maintenance in that $6 million, or the
No, that is all part of it because it's
becomes
warranty.
your maintenance
Yep.
for 3 years then?
27, the maintenance will kick in.
Questions for Todd on?
You want a time frame?
I have one. I'm
I
looking
didn't
at
forget.
another resolution.
So what we're looking right now is, we actually had some pretty good movement yesterday. We had to work on some encryption with our radio consoles on that. So we'll probably start looking to actually start loading at least the Southern for our public safety stamp for some of those police departments to start moving that within this quarter to the end of the year. Some of the fire departments will actually start letting them beta and get onto the P25 in the southern region, just because that's where the P25 infrastructure is at that time. Motorola is predicting that by the end of next year, this infrastructure should be done, because they're ad sites. They're not total rebuild. We're basically, you know, we could run into an issue with the site where we have to wait for some fiber connectivity or not, but, you know, that, we're kind of already ahead the game and anticipating some of that stuff with Service Electric, just so we're ahead of the game on that. So hopefully by the end of next year, the infrastructure will be complete for countywide coverage.
What delineates southern and northern?
Well, our delineation of southern and northern is pretty much if you draw a line through Nazareth.
Okay.
You know, just infrastructure-wise, and that's always kind of how it was built. Like, our Ops 2 right now is the northern side, and our Ops 1 is the southern side. Is there significant spillover? Absolutely. I can use the P25 radio right now in Penardrell Borough, Bushkill, Plainfield, in some of those areas, Lehigh Township. However, when you get down into some of the valleys, and that's what we need to shoot back from the mountain, is to get into those geographically challenged areas that we have. That's why we have to use 4 sites and not just 3. We tried our darndest, but there are some challenging areas. Is it going to be 100% coverage? No, public safety infrastructure is 100%. It's what they call 95-95, up 95% of the time and 95% of the coverage of the geographic area. There are holes, just like when you have your cell phone, you will find those spots. The luxury is they probably have a lot bigger budget than we do. But it is pretty much, the current system the way it is actually performing a lot better than what I anticipated into areas where we didn't anticipate to have coverage, which is good. So as we add those other sites, it kind of creates some self-healing if we ever, you know, have a site that goes offline. So we've been out there kind of testing it ourselves, getting good feedback from Bethlehem Township of how it switches and how it works better in building in the schools and stuff for the resource officers. So we had some positive feedback since they stepped up and said they wanted to try it, knowing that it was a beta part, you know, just so we can get some good feedback on that. So, yeah.
No, you answered, yep.
Okay, great.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, last, we have Article 13 for Blue Scope Construction. Mike, sorry, you're last in the queue tonight.
Make a motion that we start putting Mike Amealy first in all meetings, and everybody else can wait.
I'll second that motion.
I know, but like, the poor kid.
So we had two change orders with the electrical contract for the construction of the new maintenance garage at Louisemore Park. The first one was due to the development plans had initially assumed an aerial electrical service from the PPL pole to the new building. PPL would not permit that. They required that the new service be an underground feed. So there was additional costs incurred for excavation, the bedding material, the conduit, that was not called for in the original contract. And the second change order, when they were going to install the new driveway and curbing, they discovered an unmarked electrical line that services one of the other maintenance barns out at the park. So that section of the line needed to be removed and relocated out of the drive aisle to avoid the conflict.
Questions, comments? No, okay. That's it. That's all we had on the agenda for this evening. Any final comments, questions from council, committee members? No? Okay, well, then we'll call for an adjournment. Thank you, everyone.